Warrior Lore. Chapter 521. The Labor Office. Chapter 521. The Labor Office. Humayer's eyes spun, and she giggled while asking Violent Demon, "Executives, don't tease. Inner disciples have to be in the radiant stage at the very least, to say nothing of elite disciples. While junior brother here, you're looking down on our Steward Zhuo?" Violent Demon laughed. Steward Zhuo is so otherworldly that no common sense can describe him. The way I see it, even being an elite is a waste. He's better off working as executive from the start. No, that is beneath Steward Zhuo's talents. He should be an elder. Sly Demon sucked up Wimp Demon threw in his 2 cents. Elder won't do either. A Venerable is more like it. What Venerable? Just make Wuyue retire and have him become sect leader already. The 4 scheming demons got rowdier and more obnoxious, while Humayer's cheeks twitched. Something seriously wrong with their heads. She had long since heard of their illustrious infamy. I won't get anything about the kid out of these weirdos. Then again, with how they suck up to the kid and treat him with such respect, he must have deep ties in the sect. Humayer eyed the ever-cool Zhuo Fan, unfazed by the 4's outrageous display like a well whose waters never ended. "Miss, what might be your name?" Zhuo Fan turned to the girl. She only spared him a glance, then huffed. "Ha ha ha." Humayer giggled. "Junior brother Zhuo, she is Yuan, an outer disciple with the same cultivation as you, in the 6th layer of profound heaven stage. She will be your senior sister. It's best if you get along. Ha ha ha." "Yuan?" Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, then picked up the discarded short blade. The curved weapon was 4th grade demonic treasure, bearing the name of the moon and wielding a full moon blade. How fitting. Yuan just glared, yet she was caught by surprise as Zhuo Fan traced her neck with her weapon, widening her eyes. Yuan could not dodge because of the heavy wound she had. Humayer was startled as well to learn that a new disciple would raise his hand at a fellow disciple. The 4 scheming demons snickered. They never tried stopping Steward Zhuo's actions. Not like they could. Besides, it wasn't like sect leader would cry over the death of some nobody outer disciple. He wouldn't have invited Zhuo Fan just to lash out at him, no? The glinting blade reflected Yuer's panicked eyes. But her will never wavered, relentless even in the face of death. Whoosh. The blade stopped just shy of her skin. She still felt its sharp edge. Being on the brink of death. Gulp. Yuer looked around nervously at Zhuo Fan. Her very first time looking him in the eye. What was revealed was a twisted and insidious smile. Letting go of the blade, Zhuo Fan laughed. "Lass, your sneaky attack had me frightened. Now I've returned the favor, and we're even. Ha ha ha. Steward Zhuo, she has hurt you, and yet you're letting her go with just a scare?" Violent Demon glanced at the blood on Zhuo Fan's chest. Zhuo Fan shook his hand. "I just got here and seen your sister Yuan, and I only exchanged greetings. You better not go snitching to sect leader either. Forget this ever happened." "Yes, sir." The 4 scheming demons shrugged and cupped their hands. Humayer was even more startled. These 4 weren't just looking after the kid, but are his lackeys. Is he some Venerable's heir? Humayer sized Zhuo Fan harder. "Junior brother Zhuo is mighty and grand, just like father. When did you see my old man?" Zhuo Fan snickered inside, knowing fully well that she was playing with him. So he gave a vague answer. "Senior sister Mayer is too kind. But since you mentioned father, I remember him telling me that the sect has a disciple called who is thoughtful and kind. He must have meant you, senior sister Mayer. He always said having senior sister Mayer tending to me is the utmost bliss." Ugh. The 4 scheming demons looked at him oddly. When did he have a dad, and why didn't we hear of him? And since he knows Humayer, is he perhaps in the sect? Humayer was stunned. He must have backing. But whose? While she wanted to dig further, Zhuo Fan cut their meeting short with a bow. "We should be going now to meet sect leader. Farewell. Here, senior sister Yuan." Zhuo Fan handed her the curved blade, and Yuan took it with a cold glare. Zhuo Fan and the 4 pygmies left Humayer alone with her doubts. "Yuan, go tend to your wounds. Senior sister has some matters to tend to." Humayer was gone the next second. Yuan nodded and sighed, putting on a hurtful look, like a kicked puppy, while Zhuo Fan and the 4 mini demons passed by many great buildings. Violent Demon asked, puzzled, "Steward Zhuo, you're just gonna let that girl go after hurting you? Or should we look for a chance to waste her?" Haha, you'd better not. I just like the last character. Just like me back when I stepped on the demonic path, blunt like a birch stump. Zhuo snickered. As they say, the fool strikes while the wise talks. Yuan might be the one who attacked, but I knew from a glance that she was oblivious to everything, ending up being used. It was the late arrival, who came to mediate and to loosen my tongue. If we'd not leave the matter at that, she'd have killed us all. Zhuo breathed in. For scheming demons, did anyone else know about my coming to demon scheming sect? Why was someone after me the instant I got here? Well, the 4 scheming demons shook their heads and Violent Demon shrugged. That's normal. Demon scheming sect's competitiveness is ruthless. And since we're a demonic sect, it goes double for its disciple. You know it very well, how cruel our methods are, using others' souls and flesh to practice skills. Where are we supposed to get the raw material? Going after other sects will blow in our face and lead to war. Only by weeding out the weak and making them our furnace can the elite be born. Losing here means death. Right. We only succeeded to train in our unity tactic all because we used 999 disciples' souls. That's how we can turn to smoke. Sly Demon bobbed his head. No one knew better than Zhuo just how cruel and twisted the demonic path was. The loser went through hell while the winner had everything, standing above everyone. Wuyue must have leaked it on purpose to get the disciples' attention fixed on me. Wuyue just now was sizing his potential. Whether to take him out or not, a tough backing didn't absolve one of attacks. It only made the enemy more cautious when he acted. While having no one behind him at all would make anyone attack him on the spot, to nip him in the bud, Zhuo snickered. You'll have another thing coming if some hatchlings on the demonic path can trick me. Once yours truly becomes an elite disciple, you'll all fall in line. Is that the disciple sect leader recruited? Deep in the forest of a cloudy, weathered peak, a figure scoffed at the 5 of them. 6th layer of profound heaven stage, so average. Yet sect leader not only recruited him, but even used a 9th grade pill? Wuyue sighed from behind him, with equal disdain. That fool is quite interesting. It was Yuan who stabbed him, yet he took the first step in putting the matter behind them. And from his tone, his father must be someone high up in the sect. Hi. He's just like a prodigal son, naive and innocent, unlike a demonic cultivator. Pulling strings to get in? Sect leader isn't that immoral. The man's eyes glinted, his smile cold, or maybe he has a nice talent to catch sect leader's attention. Oh, what about his fight with Yuan? Second senior brother, he is weak as a bug. He did break Yuan's arm, but she stabbed his chest. His win is marginal. That means his strength is nothing special, typical of a 6th layer of profound heaven cultivator. Second senior brother rubbed his chin. Let's wait for the sect leader's decision. Making him an inner disciple with the sect leader's personal instructions will mean he has outstanding talent, and he is a threat to us. If he's put with the outer disciples, he must have plenty of connections. Sect leader and the Venerable must have reached a secret agreement. Wuyue broke into an enchanting smile, her eyes taunting. The little guy looked so pure, dumber than even Yuan. Sect leader has no time for his kind. The latter has a much higher probability. My thoughts exactly. Second senior brother had a wide grin, laughing along with Wuyue. The 5 finally arrived at the sect's grand hall, where sect leader along with venerables and elders were present. Violent Demon eyed the closed doors with a smile. He didn't get to report their arrival when the doors opened to reveal a middle-aged man with a pencil mustache. The 4 scheming demons bowed. Elder Yao. And he nodded and turned to Zhuo. Are you the new disciple, Zhuo? I am. Zhuo gave a respectful reply. By the order of the sect leader, Zhuo is to enter the labor office. He will be a laborer disciple. Take him away. Elder Yao left them speechless. For scheming demons, give it to me straight. What's a laborer in the sect? Not high probably. Zhuo raised an eyebrow, gnashing his teeth. Violent Demon began. Labor office is the sect jail for unredeemable criminals. Once you go in, you'll never get out. No matter what trouble we used to make, the most was that we got sent to Thunderswarm Mountain. It is a disciple's grave. The disciples who failed the entrance test end up here. getting no resources and wasting their lives away until they die of old age. Someone yearning for power always appears now and then, and through grueling dedication to cultivate, they would become elders upon reaching radiant stage as a reward for their willpower. With Steward Zhuo joining them, you'd have no trouble becoming an elder on account of your talents. Wimp Demon consoled he only earned a cuff from Violent Demon. You moron, Steward Zhuo is to be a sect leader, not some executive like us. That's a waste of talent. The other three didn't join the fight and actually nodded. For the first time ever, Wimp Demon had no resentment, giving Zhuo Fan looks of pity to him. Zhuo Fan was a true cultivator of the demonic way. It was then that the faint crack in the open doors of the hall shut tight. The insides were lavish and opulent, with braziers raging bright light over the wealth in 2 neat rows. In the center sat the imposing Wuyue on an exquisite jade throne. Looking down on the hall, Elder Yao came in with a bow. Sect leader, I have sent the kid to the labor office as you order. Good. You may leave. Yes, sir. Elder Yao bowed as he walked backward as the hall became empty. Wuyue turned to the seat next to him, who had a just as grand person seated on it. Hi, Venerable. Are you satisfied? Such a talent thrown into labor. Humph. Now all our hopes to win in the next Double Dragon gathering are crushed. Sect leader cares much about him, but I find it hard to second that emotion and would rather watch him from the shadows. Just what kind of junior could get Sir Sect leader to use even a 9th grade pill to draw him into the sect? With a hum, the large seat sported a figure in gray clothes. Wuyue sighed. Those wastrels must have given you quite the scare. Hi, Venerable, for you to go against even my candidate for Double Dragon gathering. But you are wrong. I am just like you, aspiring for the Double Dragon gathering and would let no one stop me in achieving it. I want to become the greatest sect leader the demon scheming sect has ever seen. As his eyes flashed, Wuyue's mighty aura exploded. Hi, Venerable nodded. Wuyue, you've been to the last Double Dragon gathering and know of our humiliating defeat. I've never doubted your conviction to win, but to let a kid not even in the radiant stage become an elite disciple is something I can't do. Haha, it's fine. The kid is no mere shining gemstone, and you'll see it in time. He has every right to be the pillar holding us all in the Double Dragon gathering. Laughing, Wuyue walked away from his throne. Hi, Venerable watched him go with a mutter. No one has ever garnered such praise from Wuyue. Is the kid that amazing? Impermanence 5. What do you think? 5 elderly figures appeared around Hi, Venerable. When the kid used the sending jade to request for help, Wu wanted to send someone else, but I vouched for you. Also, I could have you check him out if he's worthy to be an elite. Well? Hi, Venerable asked Elder. She replied, Hi, Venerable. We did lend Luo clan our aid, and even with the short time around the kid we did manage to pick up on his sharp mind and wisdom, just like our sect leader. He has a vaulting ambition and is the sole decisive figure. He is manipulative to an extent even the sect leader can't be. Oh, so he's a tough one. Hi, Venerable nodded. Here I thought he was soft and can't hold his own. That makes Wuyue's evaluation trustworthy. When we captured beast taming sect's elders, one of them had no body. After a summary questioning, we found out that his vessel got destroyed by that kid. Elder, she continued. Hi, Venerable cried out. What? Is he not a profound heaven cultivator? How did he destroy an ethereal stage expert's body? Ha ha ha, those 3 experts were so dumb that they fell for his every trick. But for a kid to have 3 experts dance in his palm, with one getting heavily injured, now that's talent. Elder, she smiled. Hi, Venerable pondered. Elder, she resumed. Does Sir remember those 4 scheming demons, the twerps? Those mavericks had no control. No amount of punishment worked on them, always doing what the heck they wanted. Thus sect leader has no choice but to throw them in Thunderswarm Mountain. Yet now they've shown up with smoother edges, especially around Zhuo Fan. The thought of going against his orders never crossed their minds, and they even stood up for him. Elder Yin noticed that the kid has the charm of a ruler, drawing people towards him. He may be the person Sir has been searching for. Shuddering, High Venerable eyed the 5 as they nodded. His eyes glinted. Perhaps I ought to test the kid. Ha ha ha. Chapter 523, Old Yuan. Chapter 523, Old Yuan. Evening. a time when the crimson sun bids goodbye to the 5 lonely figures shuffling down the path. Zhuo walked at a snail's pace on the weeded path, as if he was going on a road of no return, dragging it out as excruciatingly long as possible, yet it only delayed the inevitably cruel fate destiny had for him. Steward Zhuo, here is the labor office. Violent Demon lifted a weary finger at the shoddy and small building. Zhuo was stunned at the sight. It was worthy of its name. A dump, just like his house in the slums of Drifting Flower City. The only saving grace in that case was that his stay was temporary. While now, he had no frickin' clue how to leave this shithole. Wuyue, you haven't seen the last of me. You think it's funny, using a 9th grade pill just to get me thrown in this thing? Zhuo spat the 4 scheming demons. Shrugged. Violent Demon shouted, "Whoever is in there, get out now." I'm coming, a panicky voice replied, followed by an old man in ragged clothes and white beard running over. He bowed and flattered Violent Demon. "Ha ha ha, elders, what can I do for you?" Zhuo gang looked with disdain at the 5th layer bone tempering elder. So old yet only in the bone tempering stage. Such a poor talent this secular world has. That's why he's here, and this is where he'll meet his end. The 5 shook their heads. The old man ignored their blatant disdain and wore a wide smile. "Hey, old-timer, where are the rest of you? Don't tell me you're the only one here." Violent Demon finally found a chance to be high and mighty. Though the high part was questionable, the mighty part more than made up for it. The old guy bowed, giving a humble reply, "Elder, they're all out working. Watering the herb garden, sweeping and cleaning." "Are you the one in charge here?" Violent Demon continued. The old man beamed a yellow smile. "I am Yuan Xingong, the one taking care of this place, and already 100 years old." "A bone tempering cultivator got to 100 in this place?" Zhuo eyed the old-timer. "The 4 pygmies said the labor office was the sect's dump used as consumables and others' training. The old-timer must have had some luck to reach 100 in this hellhole." The old man noticed his doubt and spoke softly. "Young master, surviving the labor office is a bit tricky. Either work hard to be an elder, or lay lower like a pygmy." He, that's me, tiny. To be taken away for practice, one must first have some value. I've suppressed my cultivation and look utterly worthless to everyone, thus reaching old age. I must admit I am the oldest one here, so I ended up looking after the place. Like the old adage, the tallest tree gets the wind. So this guy kept himself too plain, the king of nobodies. Zhuo sighed. If it were me, knowing I'd one day end up under someone's knife, I'd just fight my way out. Why wait here for death? Young master, that is such a simple way of thinking. The disciples in the labor office all have low cultivation and don't know how to open the barrier. How can we get out? The old man sighed. The world is cruel, and everyone is its fodder. A man's fate has always been to struggle against death since birth, and the only thing that can change this is one's skill. By escaping the depths of misery, one would finally attain strength. Zhuo eyed the old-timer in surprise. To think an old bone-tempering cultivator would have such a deep insight into the world's nature. The old man returned to his servile manner with a smile. "Elders, where are my manners? How may I address you? We will be here together after all." He, old-timer, perk your ears. We are the graceful and magnificent demonic cultivator hero quartet of the demon-scheming sect, the 4 scheming demons. Violent Demon grinned. His nose way up high. The old man cried, "Ah, executives, forgive my lack of manners. May I ask what sirs are doing here? Who's the blind fool that forgot to sweep? That's not it. We don't even know our home's cleaner." Violent Demon waved and his brothers laughed, pointing at Zhuo. "We came here because Steward Zhuo has irked the sect leader for some odd reason, getting demoted to the labor office. It's fine though, since this'll be just a short stop. Take good care of him, or you'll be liable. Elders, I'd never neglect young Master Zhuo." Moreover, then he glanced at Zhuo. "With his profound heaven cultivation, there's nothing I can do to him. Only, labor office does have some unruly young masters." "What unruly?" "Just use our title." Violent Demon snorted and barked, causing the old man to shy away. Zhuo figured out more as he said, "Is your title that well known, to quell anyone? In this dump, everything will rest on me in the end." "Ugh, The four exchanged a glance and laughed. Steward Zhuo is right. With your skills, you don't need our care. Then, sir, have a nice stay while we'll be making inquiries as to how this happened in the first place. We will get you out. Violent Demon nodded. His gaze firm. The other three echoed him. The old man watched it all with a glint in his eyes. After many demons repeated warnings to the old guy, they cupped their hands at Zhuo Fan and flew away. Zhuo Fan chuckled. He never thought the day would come when these four shits would look after him. Mr. Zhuo has such nice friends. I've seen my fair share of strong people coming to labor office, but never before like Mr. Zhuo, with so many executives looking after him. The old man spoke simply. Zhuo Fan smiled. Just Zhuo Fan. I will be calling, sir, Elder Yuan. That won't do. I can't accept it. The old man waved his hands around. I'm but a bone-tempering cultivator, a whole stage beneath sir. Ha ha, what's that got to do with anything? When I respect someone, they have something of worth. Sir's cultivation is low, but your insight into the world can't be compared. All that's left is for your talent to increase, and sky is the limit. Zhuo Fan beamed as his hand now held a vial. This is my clan's heaven-reaching pill. It enhances the body and makes cultivation easier. Let us expound on the heavenly Tao together. Startled, the old man received the vial. The soothing aroma coming from it had him flabbergasted. 10th grade pill? Elder Yuan is truly wise. At the bone-tempering stage, yet aware of such a pill. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, gulping and struggling to regain calm. Yuan Xingong gave a dry laugh. In my days as a laborer, I helped an alchemist around and had the fortune to witness a 10th grade pill. I never imagined I'd be seeing one again. Mr. Zhuo, this is our first time meeting, yet I feel ashamed accepting such a lavish gift. Haha, it's fine. There's plenty of it. Where that came from. Zhuo Fan shrugged. That had Elder Yuan stumble, looking back at Zhuo Fan with a freaky gaze. Mr. Zhuo, where did you say you were again? If you have 10th grade pills, why would you come to Demon Scheming Sect? Can't help it when you're obligated. Zhuo Fan shook his head, then looked at the crumbling building. Elder Yuan, where will I be staying? Yuan Xingong turned from him to the pill, having mixed feelings. Holy moly, a big shot has come to town. What a godly return, using a 10th grade pill to pay back for a 9th grade pill. In a field of flowers, people with white robes and the mystical words sewn on their shoulders in gold landed rustle. They all made a sign, and the flower field shimmered, turning into a lofty landscape of towering mountains. One pale woman, with blood on her lips, stepped forward in silence. Her arrival had people shouting, "Someone help! Senior Sister Shui is hurt." Chapter 524. An Ice Princess Smile. Chapter 524. An Ice Princess Smile. Ripples came from a deep cave in the mountain, from the four elegant women holding their hands in a circle and releasing prismatic lights. Next to them stood a grizzled old man with a long beard and a fine young man with soft features in his 20s. But his waning face betrayed his fragile health. He coughed on and off, his eyes filled with worry. Elder Su, wasn't Senior Sister Ruahua's condition light? Why isn't it improving? Should we notify Father and the Venerables? The young man sighed. Elder Su smiled. Young master, these four are executing the four-element cycle array, holding metal, wood, water, and fire. And by connecting with the earth, the cycle is complete. Under the effect of this great cycle, Ruahua's condition will improve in no time at all. There's no need to bother sect leader and the others over such a trifle. The young man nodded, but was worried still. After another ripple, the four women took back their power, and the prismatic glow faded. They opened their eyes and stood up. Shui Ruahua bowed to the other three in gratitude. Thank you, junior sisters, for saving me. Senior sister, it's nothing. The others returned her gesture. The young man walked over impatiently and grew excited at Shui Ruahua's healthy state. Cough. Senior sister Ruahua, are you all right? Haha, of course, silly brother. Shui Ruahua ruffled his hair, and the boys smiled. They had grown up together and were practically kin. Despite the difference in status, he still treated her like family. Just then, an icy tone echoed. Senior sister, since you're all right, I'll return to my training. The woman in white caught their attention, possessing a blinding beauty, but an icy character no other than Chu Qingqing. The young man stared at Chu Qingqing's delicate face, then shied away. When he finally mustered his courage, he said, "Junior Sister Qingqing, isn't it dull having cultivated day in day out since the moment you came to Mystical Heaven Sect? You've finally taken a walk outside, yet you want to return already? Young Master Xiaoyu, practice makes perfect and cultivation requires dedication. The only reason I'm in Mystical Heaven Sect is to cultivate. If not for Senior Sister Ruahua's wounds needing the 4-element cycle array, I would never have walked outside." Chu Qingqing's icy tone came. The others shook their heads. Junior Sister Qingqing has always been a frozen blade, cold inside and out. The young man sighed. "I've seen beauties all my life, yet the only one to have touched my heart is this ice princess. Besides being so uninterested in others, she also keeps everyone at a distance." Xian Xiaoyu had a bitter smile. His wan face turning whiter. Shui Ruohua knew his thinking fully well and shook her head. Not just anyone can thaw the frozen heart of an ice princess. "Junior Sister Chu, please wait." Shui Ruohua called out to her before she left. Chu Qingqing turned around in puzzlement. Shui Ruohua said, "As I was in danger while getting the herb, I met someone. He seemed to have a connection with you, so I hope Junior Sister can attest." "With me?" Frowning, Chu Qingqing looked even more skeptical. "Didn't Third Young Master Han hurt you? What does he have to do with me?" Elder Su was also curious. "Ruohua, the disciples said Demon Soul Sect's Third Young Master Han hurt you. Qingqing, and they have no relationship, so why would you ask this?" "Elder, allow me to explain. Third Young Master Han did hurt me, but Shui Ruohua gave Chu Qingqing a long look. The one to save me was from the demon scheming sect." "What?" They all looked at her in shocked silence. Xian Xiaoyu even more so. "There's nothing but open hostility between our sections. Why would they ever go on demon scheming sect's bad side for us?" "He didn't save Mystical Heaven Sect, just that it had something to do with Qingqing." Shui Ruohua had a bitter smile. It left them even more confused about Chu Qingqing's relationship with demon scheming sect. Chu Qingqing was just as confused. Elder Su's beard shook, and he stared at Shui Ruohua in all seriousness. "Ruohua, explain just what is going on." "It's like this." Shui Ruohua got her thoughts together and said, "We discovered a 9th grade herb in a valley, the tricolor soul-fixing grass." "That's great. Did you get it?" Elder Su jumped in. Shui Ruohua rolled her eyes and revealed the herb in a flash of white. "Of course. I'd go through hell if it means I can heal Brother Xiaoyu." "Sister Ruohua, thank you." Cough. Xian Xiaoyu had a coughing fit as he thanked her. Elder Su was overjoyed. Go on, haha. "We couldn't get a hold of it actually because Demon Soul Sect came for it as well." Shui Ruohua explained, "Demon Soul Sect's Third Young Master Han was strong, and I ended up badly hurt after one move. Third Young Master Han is despicable to not even spare women. The next time we sisters meet him, we'll give him a lesson in manners with the 4-element cycle array." One pretty lady in red robes snorted. Shui Ruohua glanced over, but smiled and wiggled her cute button nose. "Third Young Master Han isn't just anybody. Don't underestimate him." But even a young master from the middle 3 sects had met his nemesis this time. All turned quiet, even the fiery lady, hanging on Shui Ruohua's every word. "When I was on the brink of death, a man showed up. He merely flicked his hand and scarred the land in 2 halves, forcing Third Young Master Han to never overstep that line. Even as the man left, Third Young Master Han never crossed it." Shui Ruohua's heart thrummed as well, recalling that scene. "He is the one who gave me the herb, a man from Demon Scheming Sect." SSS. Everyone gasped and looked shocked. Why would Demon Scheming Sect help them without rhyme or reason? The lady in red blinked her big pretty eyes, her smile naughty. "Senior Sister Ruohua, did he fancy you and wanted some dual cultivation? You mustn't fall for it. Demonic cultivators are vile and insidious." Shui Ruohua winced, then shook her head. Even as she felt let down for some reason, "He gave me the herb with one condition. His target wasn't me, but..." Shui Ruohua looked at Chu Qingqing. "He asked 2 questions about Junior Sister Chu Qingqing, then gave me the herb." "Which 2? Chu Qingqing asked eagerly. "If you're in Mystical Heaven Sect, and if you're doing well." Shui Ruohua replied. Chu Qingqing asked again, even more eager. "What's his name?" "I don't know. He asked me to forget all about it. But those 4 radiant stage pygmies called him Steward Zhuo. It's really him. Chu Qingqing shook with pure joy. Her icy features melted into a beautiful smile. He misses me. 2 trails of tears accompanied her bright smile. Everyone was stumped, having never seen her smile, and finding it a work of art. They also never expected her beauty to be so radiant. An unsmiling Chu Qingqing was already a worldly beauty, yet now she was divine. Just who is he to make junior sister Qingqing so overjoyed just from hearing his name? Balling his fist, Xian Xiaoyu's eyes glinted with envy. Shui Ruohua shook her head, but Zhuo Fan's courteous manner made her smile. He is a demon who is able to worm his way into your heart. Chapter 525, Asura Circle. Chapter 525, Asura Circle. The moon hung high above the black, eerie sky in complete silence. Zhuo Fan sat in a shoddy house, eyes closed and an azure flame flashing on his forehead. He had little clue about how to use Kuanping's gift initially, but the sacred beast had pointed out that it was second to none when it came to soul refining. With the flame nurturing his soul, it grew clearer and stronger, faster than ever, but a frown set in on Zhuo Fan's face due to the cawing outside, and the azure flame faded out. Zhuo Fan, wake up. We have to gather, an aged voice echoed with anxiousness, followed by Elder Yuan opening his door and pulling Zhuo Fan outside. Zhuo Fan inquired, Elder Yuan, why all the rush? Oh, right, you've just arrived. 2 sirs have called for all the laborers. We've got to move fast, or our lives are forfeit. Elder Yuan's eyes swam with panic. Zhuo Fan was even more baffled. 2? Wasn't the labor office under your administration? I only have an honorary position. Whenever there's someone stronger around, he's the one in charge. Look at my cultivation. Can I just call myself king? Elder Yuan pulled Zhuo Fan faster. This place must have some lurking snakes too. Though Zhuo Fan didn't care much, since even if the dragon had a tough time quelling the snake, he was the soaring demonic dragon piercing the sky. No matter the snake, I'll waste him the second he looks at me funny. Humph. The dragon and snake is an idiom referring to. Not even law can tie a mafia boss down. Zhuo Fan let himself be pulled. They arrived at the labor office's deepest part. A man-sized black hole carved into a mountain. People were coming from all over. Like them, and entering the cave. Elder Yuan cried out, sigh, so few left outside. That means we're late and everyone's inside. So, since there's still more people coming over, we're not the last ones. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Elder Yuan shook his head. You can be late, but I can't. And pulled harder on Zhuo Fan towards the cave. Torches graced the cave with light from each side as people followed the tunnel deeper to an even brighter area. It was a large open space dug up in the mountain, tens of miles in range. Tens of thousands of people were already there, watching the 2 people on the dais. One was a girl with a scorpion drawn on half her face in purple and black. Her vile eyes and powerful vibe put her in the 3rd layer of radiant stage. The other was a tall and sturdy man with a stubble on his face, wearing black and had a cold smile. His aura had Zhuo Fan take him for a 4th layer of radiant stage. So even the labor office is a den of monsters. Zhuo Fan said. Elder Yuan pulled his sleeve, whispering, they were all inner disciples casted out to the labor office due to a serious offense. Their lives are over, making their mood even worse. Don't taunt them, even if you have 4 executives behind you. They have an elder's protection, so don't get carried away and end up dead. Elder Yuan, what are you still doing down there? What are you muttering? The boorish voice got everyone to look at the savage face of the man on the dais. Elder Yuan shirked, then gave Zhuo Fan one last look before going up with a nice smile. Sirs, forgive my tardiness. Humph, geezer. The only reason you get to keep your stinking rotten life is because you're too damn useless even as a training target. You just keep getting slower. The man glared. Elder Yuan nodded with the same smile. Thank you so much for your mercy, Sir Kuei Lang. Ha ha ha. Take out the roster already. I want to see the numbers. Kuei Lang cursed, wretched filthy sack of bones. Using you as an ingredient will ruin my cultivation. Yeah. Ha ha. Elder Yuan put on a lowly face. Presenting the roster, Kuei Lang went through a roll call. Li Ergu, Huataishu. Kuei Lang's booming voice rang in everyone's ears, showing off his power. The men being called raised their hands, while the hesitating ones earned a harsh rebuttal. Wrapping up with the names, Kuei Lang's attitude never changed until he got to the last name. We have a newcomer? Zhuo Fan. Here. Zhuo Fan raised his hand. Kuei Lang eyed him and snickered. He, as a newcomer, he must be taught the rules. Young Master Kuei, please show mercy. Elder Yuan panicked and pleaded. Young Master Kuei. For executives brought him with explicit warning to not be touched. Harming him will forfeit my life. Kuei Lang balled his fists, ignoring him. What about executives? I've got an elder. Here, we all must follow the rules. Young Master Kuei, those executives care very much about him, even going to the sect leader to petition for his sake. Would the young master's elder do the same? Elder Yuan's eyes darted everywhere as he pointed out. Kuei Lang paused and thought all the people here were sect rejects. With even their own masters seeing them as hopeless, they couldn't care less about leaving their lives to fate. The only upside to all this was paying their master a visit for some crumbs. As for getting the master to stick his neck out, it was a total no-no, with the executives behind Zhuo Fan going to such lengths for him, even risking going against sect leader's command. Roughing him up would end with the culprit getting thrashed, or worse, he didn't feel like getting the executives on his case. Kuei Lang, since the kid is so important, it's best to tone it down for now. The girl reminded him. Kuei Lang nodded and relaxed his fists. The risks outweigh the gains. Kuei Lang turned solemn. I've called you all here for one reason. Today, the Asura circle begins anew, and only the winner may leave this place. What? The crowd went wild. Is this a joke? Asura circle is once every 3 years. Why is it being held again after only 6 months? Kuei Lang snorted. Regardless of the time, the result doesn't change. Only the strongest can live. The losers will become the sect's resource for training. In this very cave, the first bell starts the fight while the second stops it. Is that clear? The crowd panicked, caught totally unprepared. They figured the gathering was for something they had planned, like some elder's birthday. But nobody expected it to be the Asura circle. Did the inner disciples run out of target practice already? Elder Yuan was worried for Zhuo Fan and pleaded. Young Master Kuei, Zhuo Fan has just arrived and does not know the cruelty of Asura circle. Could he not participate? Rules are rules. I won't target him on account of those executives, but the rules state all laborers must participate, or I'll have to answer for it. Kuei Lang snorted. The girl-eyed Zhuo Fan. Old Yuan, he's a 6th layer of profound heaven cultivator. He'll live, so don't worry. Kuei Lang nodded. They're letting him in not because they don't care about the executives, but because Zhuo Fan will be fine. Elder Yuan nodded as well with a sigh. Twisted-faced Rakshasa Yuling. Black Yama. Kuei Lang. That's F***King bullshit. A man from the crowd pointed at the two on the dais and swore. I know the sect has no demand for target practices. With the outer sect promotion test coming up, you want your little sister to have all the materials to train. I'm reporting you to the sect. The man in the 2nd layer of profound heaven stage flew for the exit. Kuei Lang snorted, and a black wind shot for the man. He cried out in pain as he spat blood and slumped on the ground from the dizziness. The rest trembled in fear. Zhuo Fan squinted. Soul attack, but a brutal one at that. It must be related to his cultivation method, something insidious that has twisted his soul to such a degree. Zhuo Fan turned and watched everyone around him. With so many prime materials around, no wonder not like it's any of my business. Zhuo Fan's eyes took on a sagely light as he shook his head. Inside a sound then came, that of a bell, as Kuei Lang struck the copper bell next to him. Let the Asura circle begin. Deserters will be killed. Chapter 526, True Demon. Chapter 526, True Demon. A deathly silence ensued. Everyone put up their guards, with eyes darting everywhere for any incoming blow. As the stalemate continued, the pressure only mounted, visible from the sweat pouring out of them. Bam! It was an 8th layer of bone-tempering cultivator who gave the start, flying all of a sudden and landing dead. The others jerked and saw Kuei Lang letting his hand down. If you don't fight, I will do it for you until I reach the quota. As for who the poor devils are, time will tell. Kuei Lang's eyes glinted. Gulp. The crowd tensed harder, their eyes turning crazy. Someone took out a demonic treasure and hacked around him while the rest unleashed their power and picked their closest neighbor whales. Shouts and cries set the stage for the blood spurting everywhere, dyeing the lit cavern, and eerie red corpses littered the ground as they fell. Yet their eyes did not have the panic or shock one would assume, but only fear mixed with madness. Zhuo took it all in with a critical eye. It is madness born out of dread and horror. What started as a fight for survival has devolved into this fanatic killing into oblivion, forgetting even their goal. In a slaughterhouse like this, their inner demons took control while they only played along as puppets on a string to kill and kill with empty minds consumed by a sick thrill. This was the Asura Circle, a place where one became demons and stopped being human. Whoosh! 1/3 layer of profound heaven expert lost his mind in the madness and targeted Zhuo. Despite the obvious 3-layer gap, Zhuo was tranquil while standing there, breaking his bones and tendons with practiced ease, but not even that agony could wipe the manic grin on the corpse's face. Zhuo shook his head, his mind lacking sadness or joy, only having serenity. He just stood there among the fanatic killings, unmarred and untouched by its corrupting influence, only making a move when an overzealous killer went for him as if he was the eye of the storm. Despite the frantic winds lashing at his clothes, his steel will never wavered at the same time. He was glaringly obvious in the circle. What's with him? Kuei-Lang frowned, pointing Zhuo out. Such a bloodthirsty arena makes even my blood boil a bit. So why is he the only one unaffected? It's like he isn't even here. Yuling frowned. He is truly an oddity, unlike how a demonic cultivator should be, or any cultivator for that matter. This stage would make even righteous cultivators turn to bloodlust. But he's a true expert. Elder Yuan rubbed his beard, staring at Zhuo with a deep look. Everyone has their demons. As demonic cultivators, we draw them out and refine them to achieve enlightenment about the inner workings of the world. But most people only glare at the surface of their demons, resulting in being consumed by them in a bloodbath like this. Except him, having understood the root of his demons and having tempered his heart to another level, a true demon. The inner demon has no hold over him, while he has it in complete control. Elder Yuan sighed. So young, yet he has such a deep heart. It will bring him a limitless future. Elder Yuan was full of praise, making Kuei-Lang and Yuling speechless. When did the old-timer turn into a sage? And why is he talking gibberish? Old Yuan, have you lost it? Kuei-Lang stared at him. Elder Yuan chuckled, finding himself under their scrutiny. Ha ha ha, it's just my feelings. Please don't mind it. I was just saying that Zhuo is special, someone you should get close to. Bam! Kuei-Lang decked Elder Yuan and spat. So your act is to have us look after him? Think you're an expert with your aphorisms? Ha ha ha, yeah, I won't ever do it again. Elder Yuan smiled. The two shared a glance and shrugged. The old foggy wasn't much to look out, yet his act and preaching almost had them. It gives credence to the saying, the old are hypocrites, and this old guy must have made it into an art. An hour into the killings, the Asura Circle's reverberating roars and shouts of murder never let up, time in which the ever-collected Zhuo figured he could do some fishing among the chaos while waiting. Kuei-Lang figured the killing was enough, and sounded the bell, though it wasn't that easy pulling their minds out of their demons' control. No choice but for Kuei-Lang and Yuling to let their voices out, cease at once. The thunderous sound echoed in the cave, so much even the ground shook. The two's powerful soul, along with their voices, yanked their minds into collapsing. The crazed killing field turned deathly silent. The living participants held their heads and groaned while flouncing around. The dead forever remained still among the pool of blood. Their eyes open, bloodthirsty yet empty. Kuei-Lang saw Yuling's nod and said, "This should last them 2 months." Yuling returned the nod, having a rare smile on her lips. But just then, Kuei-Lang's smile froze and his eyes widened. What's wrong? Yuling raised an eyebrow. Kuei-Lang lifted a shaky arm to point. Yuling found herself experiencing the same shock as him there. Zhuo stood just like before, watching his neighbors with self-confidence. That's not possible. We used bewitching whispers together. Why is he still standing? Yuling couldn't make sense of it. Kuei-Lang surmised, since a profound heaven cultivator's soul has no chance of being stronger than ours, it leaves only one option. He has a soul demonic treasure. Yuling nodded. Having reached the same conclusion, I have said he is special. Sirs should take good care of him. Elder Yuan jumped and the two nodded after a pause. Not anyone could just have a soul demonic treasure. He's just a sixth layer of profound heaven cultivator. Someone must be watching his back to possess such a bauble. The two held Zhuo Fan with higher regard on the spot, yet behind this misconception, one finds Zhuo Fan a freak of nature with a soul so strong. Not even peak radiant stage could top it. As for backing, haha, Xia Wuyue did invite him here, but his immense confidence in himself left him to his own devices. He had none, alas. Zhuo Fan was neck-deep in mysteries and good at keeping others away. Him. Moving on, Kuei Lang turned to the rest of the survivors with a shout. Grats, people. You have survived another Asura circle. You are now free to go. There are many tasks that await you tomorrow. Kuei Lang and Yuling had others collect the corpses as they left. The lucky men here, who still lived, left overjoyed at their new lease on life. While only Zhuo Fan sneered, they're no different from cattle, but they are different. They have a hint of hope. Elder Yuan smiled, coming over and seeing everyone gone. Men are selfish and men's hearts have demons. Uprising has no chance of success, and the sect would have long since removed the labor office if it didn't serve its purpose. But to keep that from happening, the sect gave them a slim hope to cultivate hard, and they would come out as executive elders at some point. That's why they fight, so that one day they'll excel, while making labor office fulfill its purpose in the meantime. In truth, it's not the sect rearing them, but they are locking themselves inside their pen. Elder Yuan's eyes glinted with disdain, which is perfect. In a world where strength is everything, even here, only the strong make their way forward. As for the weak, the stragglers, death becomes them. Zhuo Fan nodded. The world was cruel, its creatures nothing but fodder. It went double for demonic sect's labor office was hell, the supplier for the sect's disciples' cultivation needs, while also being the place where the strong transformed. The survivors of this hellhole were crucial pillars of the sect. Having gone through one culling after another, it only went to show its importance to the demon scheming sect. The labor office was empty of anything humane, reduced to mere survival or death. But unlike the world outside that had the same nature, this was a corner of the world free of hypocrisies. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed as his heart and mentality grew, as he understood more about the world he was part of. Chapter 527. She Beneath the Moon. Chapter 527. She Beneath the Moon. With a flash of azure, a flicker of flame appeared on Zhuo Fan's forehead. Elder Yuan's eyes bugged out in shock. With a light pop, Zhuo Fan's aura doubled. He just stood there like nothing happened, yet his cultivation rose to the 7th layer of profound heaven stage. Elder Yuan was flabbergasted. Having witnessed the Asura circle, the kid has come to his own discoveries, driving his cultivation to rise. Even though cultivation defines your strength, while the heart defines one's potential, the two are unrelated. Such a case where a heart state improving leads to an increase in cultivation had been far and few since time itself, yet here and now, Zhuo Fan has done it. It is proof of his immense insight, of his great talent. Elder Yuan was stirred watching Zhuo Fan. His throat became dry. When the azure flame withdrew and Zhuo Fan opened his eyes, he found the golden halo in his eyes flashing brighter and brighter. Ugh. Zhuo Fan frowned. Having an old-timer watch him with such heated gaze was not normal. Him. Elder Yuan, what is this? If you're pinned up, don't come to me. I don't swing that way. Elder Yuan recovered from his stupor and beamed. Sir Zhuo must never ever misunderstand. I may be old, but I am straight. The two burst out laughing. Elder Yuan, I must say I never thought the materials from the labor office were picked this way. Zhuo Fan and Elder Yuan were walking out. It only makes Elder Yuan's survival over all these years even more peculiar. What's so strange about it? We each live our own lives. The strong have their own path, and so do the weak. Besides, in my days there was no Asura circle. The elders came to pick the materials, and in fear of being included, I suppressed my cultivation. Not registering in their eyes meant going on living. And that is how I am the only one reaching such an old age here. It's only natural that they've put me in charge and absolved me from dying here. Then the Asura circle. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, glancing around. Elder Yuan whispered, Zhuo Fan, Asura circle is something Sir Kuei Leng came up with when he first came here. Why would he do that? Zhuo Fan asked. Piqued. Elder Yuan smiled. Zhuo Fan, the labor office has two kinds of people. One are the cast-out disciples. They can either resign to their fate as materials or break the mold and become elders. The other type are those demoted here as punishment. They are forever criminals with a short road ahead of them and a high chance of never leaving this place. But the sect has a rule. Those with great merits will have a clean slate. That's what they tell the others. What great merit could a criminal get in the labor office? Zhuo Fan shook his head. Elder Yuan smiled. That's not entirely true. Like I said, the strong will always find a way. Like now, for instance, keeping Asura circle going is a great merit. What makes you say that? Zhuo Fan asked. Elder Yuan's eyes glinted. Those in the labor office know the condition, but few manage to escape, which makes everyone mediocre, living their lives like me, who suppress their cultivation to avoid becoming some elder's guinea pig. That makes the materials here dregs, while now, because of the Asura circle, people here want to live longer, and thus have to become stronger and cultivate harder. Soon the materials' quality improved, and the elders were satisfied. And there's an illusion about Asura circle as well, that they are the masters of their own fate. The dead become materials while the living continue existing and not get picked by elders. Strength gives you life while weakness takes it away. With this trend, the level of the labor office will soon reach outer disciples. Especially after Yuling came, adding a few rules. Bone tempering stage needn't join Asura circle, keeping the new blood pumping and saving them from drying out. Everything was made so that the labor office's standards grew, another great merit. The two of them might even return to the inner sect with their credit. Zhuo Fan nodded. All the two did was use mind games, throwing these abandoned slackers through a murder machine to awaken their ambition. An objective watcher would see them as lambs, but in the Asura circle, they turn into wild animals who would do anything to survive. Looking at it from another angle, if these people had resources to boost their cultivation, they'd reach far greater heights than even inner disciples. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed, muttering, Does that mean Xie Wuyue threw me in here to first earn great merit for the sect? What did you say? Elder Yuan stared. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Nothing. I was only lamenting. These two are some mother-fluffing geniuses. It's such a waste letting them be stuck here and not higher up in the sect. Yeah. Elder Yuan nodded. By the way, what were their crimes? Zhuo Fan continued, but Elder Yuan's response was cut short. Russell. The moon hanging in the night sky draped the land in a silver curtain, revealing a delicate figure dancing among the stars with her blade tracing bizarre arches. Zhuo Fan watched the dazed figure, like a fairy, and clapped with a smile. Such exquisite swordsmanship, Miss Yue. The graceful figure stopped and Yue's fine features turned icy. She ignored Zhuo Fan. Looking elsewhere, her cultivation had to stop when Zhuo Fan's cawing resumed. Miss Yue, what a coincidence. Have you been punished as well since you've come here? Stumbling, Yue turned a hateful glare. You're the one punished. True, I am in the labor office. Zhuo Fan answered with a smile. Yue was lost for words, gnashing her teeth. Elder Yuan was giggling at the side. Yue mocked. In the end, when you arrived, you said you'd be an elite, but sect leader didn't even let you in the hall, throwing you in the labor office. You only know how to boast. How did you know that I didn't enter the hall? Were you looking out for me? I didn't know you cared. Zhuo Fan chuckled. Yue flushed and raged. Who would? Everyone knows about your scandal now. You're the first person to not even get to see the sect leader before getting dumped in the labor office. I see. Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted. He was sure someone was keeping an eye on him when he entered the sect. There was no way that a common disciple's matter would spread otherwise, not so fast at least, but he reckoned all of this stopped the moment he was placed in the labor office, or with how the labor office was filled with all kinds of people. There was no way he wouldn't detect something after so many days. Zhuo Fan smiled. Miss Yue, did perhaps senior sister Mayor miss me as well? Senior sister didn't care. Yue caught herself and blushed harder. Zhuo Fan had played her again, and she was irate. I don't care about you. Ha ha ha. Elder Yuan laughed. Zhuo Fan is just like the rumors say, cunning and sly. An ignorant miss won't stand a chance. It was the worst possible reaction as Yuer's eyes flashed with bloodthirst and she slashed at them. Since she was put on the spot, Elder Yuan cowered behind Zhuo Fan on the double while Zhuo Fan just stood there. Grabbing her soft wrists before the blade touched him, she cried out as the blade fell from her grip and she frowned. Zhuo Fan let her go at once. I've barely used any strength, so how could it hurt? Don't tell me you're still wounded from last time. None of your business. Yuer huffed. Just then, another cute voice came. How dare you mess with my sister? Chapter 528, Mission. Chapter 528, Mission. The wind whistled in the biting cold gale. A figure in red landed. Keeping Yuer behind her, Zhuo Fan found her to be none other than twisted-faced Rakshasa Yuling. Zhuo Fan was taken aback. She's your little sister? Yuling burst with bloodthirst. I don't care who protects you, but you've messed with my sister and must die. You're not the first prattling fool who has said that to me, nor the last. Zhuo Fan snorted. Yuling's fists tightened, her mood sinking lower. Yet her determination to attack faltered. She couldn't believe that a 60/7th layer of profound heaven cultivator would dare talk back to a third layer of radiant stage expert. It only meant one thing. He's got strong enough backing to ignore even the likes of twisted-faced Rakshasa. It would be all too easy to kill the punk here and now, but then she wouldn't be alone in this mess. Her little sister would suffer too, so her thirst for blood ebbed. Elder Yuan jumped in with a smile. Miss Yuling, it's all just a misunderstanding. Miss Yuer was practicing while we passed by. There's no conflict here. Zhuo Fan was just praising her form. Right, Miss Yuer, ha ha ha. Elder Yuan begged Yuer with his eyes. Is it true, Yuer? Yuling turned around. She didn't want to cause trouble over nothing. But if the punk did it on purpose, he'll get justice all right. Yuer glared at Zhuo Fan but nodded. They didn't do anything. It was I who attacked first. Zhuo Fan nodded and sighed. The lass is stubborn, but simple, doing everything by the book. How admirable. But Yuling was unreasonable. That must mean he instigated you. Humph, damn brat, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. Yuling pulled Yuer away as she warned. No one in this place is good, Yuer. Better stay away from that guy. If anything happens, come find me or senior sister Mayor. All right? Yes, sister. Yuer was meek as a lamb, but on her way away, she sneaked a glance at Zhuo Fan, scrunched up her cute button nose and stuck her tongue at him. Zhuo Fan was speechless. Hey, is this how it's done? Her sister is to blame, yet she takes it out on me? There's no justice in the world, only the strong preying on the weak. Elder Yuan sighed like a calamity had passed. And Yuling has only let this go because she didn't know of your backing. But you better watch out for her tricks. Zhuo Fan shook his head. How could I forget? This is a demonic sect, and anyone can attack without excuse or warning. While outside, no matter how much one hates you, he needs a pretext if he doesn't want a bad name. Elder Yuan, was Yuling gathering materials for Miss Yuer? Zhuo Fan frowned. Elder Yuan nodded. Yuling is called Rakshasa, with a nasty temper and vile tendencies, but always dotes on her little sister. It was because of Yuer that she ended up in the labor office. Her little sister had poor talent and would have ended up in the labor office, so she stole a 7th grade pill from the alchemy office to remold her sister's body, leading to today's Yuer and the punished Yuling, who had the makings of an elite. Oh, she's quite fond of her baby sister, huh? Zhuo Fan nodded and sighed. But her kindness is destructive. Why? Elder Yuan frowned. Zhuo Fan paused. I heard Yuer trains in the demon-devouring saber. The crux of it lies in the demon-devouring, swallowing thousands of demonic auras and grudges to increase the blade art's power and triggering the demons of the users. It would go as far as being able to kill everything in one's path. A shame. What? A shame for Yuer's poor condition. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Training in her state would have her demons swallow her into madness, and she will fall apart. Sigh, Yuling is sure to regret it. Just that her twisted hand should have been healed with a simple pill, so why isn't it healed after 2 days? Elder Yuan frowned as he caressed his beard, his eyes flashing. Why didn't you say anything? After they yelled in my face, die in this or that way, I couldn't care less about their fate. Zhuo Fan twisted his head away. Elder Yuan shook his head. From your analysis, I figured you cared a lot. For them? We have nothing tying us, so why should I? I'm no love-struck fool. Zhuo Fan snorted. I only found it suspicious. I fear the only peaceful place in the sect will lose its tranquility. Elder Yuan smiled. Zhuo, this is the labor office, the cruelest place in the sect. How is it peaceful? Elder Yuan, you won't understand. Here it is either kill or be killed, live or die. Isn't this simple interaction peaceful? With the schemes and plots outside, where would you find another place like this? Elder Yuan held his gaze, then smiled. Zhuo has great insight. You're right, this place is pretty peaceful, huh? Zhuo laughed along as they walked. They discussed on the way about Dao and its mysteries and clicked together. Wishing they'd met earlier, Zhuo had earned big time from their talks, but so did Elder Yuan in this night. The hearts of these two had grown, widening their path into a longer future. On the morrow, Zhuo finished cultivating only to find a panicking Elder Yuan bursting in. Zhuo, come with me. Another gathering? I didn't hear any bells. Zhuo asked. Asura circle was just last night, yet it's starting again? If they keep this up, the entire labor office will be empty in 3 days. Asura circle can't start whenever. They won't dare do it so soon. But as this is the labor office, work begins early in the morning, and you need to sweep the elders and venerables' homes. How come I didn't do that the first 2 days here? Zhuo eyed him. Elder Yuan rolled his eyes. I covered for you. But after last night's Asura circle, I can no longer help you. And that Yuling must have put your name in for revenge. She has the authority? Aren't you the chief here? Hey, I told you already, I am only chief on the surface. Here, power is everything. Elder Yuan lamented. I can't force you with my meager cultivation, so please don't make it hard on me. Zhuo shook his head and jumped out of bed. Since they were friends, there was no point taking it out on the old man. But on those broads. Snorting inside, Zhuo followed Elder Yuan to a square with poor houses. Others had already gathered here, with Kuei Lang and Yuling standing in front. Seeing Zhuo, everyone gave him a cold eye and bloodthirst. Zhuo squinted. His mind ready. Now that everyone's here, we will assign tasks. Yuling took the roster from Elder Yuan. Zhang Fugue, Li Yongchong, you're to clean Venerable Shi's room. Wang Tianlei, Zhang Mingqi, you're going to Elder Liang's bedroom. Everyone's name got called. The first 3 walked forward and bowed before taking a broom from the side as they skipped about. Zhuo found it odd. What's there to be perky about when cleaning? Is there a reward involved? Soon, only Zhuo's name remained unheard, with Yuling sporting a nasty grin. Zhuo, take the broom and clean sect leader's bedroom. The other laborers cracked up, enjoying his plight. Zhuo didn't get the joke. What's so funny? But since he wanted to go to sect leader's home at some point, this was the perfect chance. Wuyue, just why the hell did you bring me here? You better have some good reason for this. Chapter 529. Seeing Wuyue. Chapter 529. Seeing Wuyue. Under the sun's glorious warmth, a youngster and an old man passed pavilions and many crossings to arrive at an opulent grand hall. Elder Yuan pointed at a magnificent roof and warned, Zhuo, here are sect leaders' chambers, a total of 273 rooms. You must be very thorough in cleaning each of them. Blasted, 200? Did he ever use them all? Zhuo grumbled. Elder Yuan waved his hands around and hushed him in panic. This is the prestige of a sect leader. Us, laborers, cannot make light of this or else. Elder Yuan put on a heavy look. Zhuo got it. A demonic sect's leader was no pushover nor a kind grandpa. Anyone talking behind his back might soon find an untimely end. But yours truly was the exception, since Wuyue had recruited him personally. Why go through all that trouble just to kill him out of pettiness? He'd fail as a sect leader. Zhuo's mind worked to wring out how far he could push it. Fine, I'm going to work. Zhuo walked to the hall with the broom. Elder Yuan panicked, pulling him back. Zhuo, always remember, the sect leader is idiosyncratic and a clean freak. Sweep down to the last speck of dust. Getting sect leader unhappy would make our heads roll. Do you know why the others were so happy to go to the other elders' houses? Because they didn't want to clean sect leader's house. Yuling gave it to you on purpose, to have sect leader remove you in her place. You must exercise caution at all times. Your life depends on it. Oh, thanks for the reminder, Elder Yuan. Zhuo nodded and cupped his hands. but showed no change in character, hanging the broom on his shoulder like before, strutting into the hall as if he had come to rob the place. Not clean it. Elder Yuan's face twitched. The kids too wild and fearless. In the building, gold and jade decorations welcomed him. At the far center was a jade long chair. Very expensive. There were wall chandeliers on each side, made with utmost attention to detail. The image was complete with stands holding exquisite vases, adding an air of elegance. To sum it up, it was quaint, magnificent, but not excessive, glorious, but not ostentatious. It got Zhuo Fan's stamp of approval. From the style alone, he guessed Wuyue was a man of mystery, keeping everything to himself. A cultivator with a high mentality. Cough. Zhuo Fan jerked and noticed a youth in silk and having cruel eyes looking back at him from the entrance. The youth was amazed the instant he saw his face. Zhuo Fan? Wuyue? Eyebrow twitching, Zhuo Fan called back, grinning and nodding. Wuyue passed him and sat on the jade chair. Ha ha ha, that's not quite right, but Zhuo Fan, since you're now in my sect, the least you should do is call me sect leader. Sect leader? Grinning back, this was Zhuo Fan's first time meeting Wuyue in the flesh. Last time was just his soul, but he saw no features, just a shadow. May I ask, sect leader, after going through so much hard work, traveling thousands of miles to find me and paying a 9th grade pill to recruit me, was it all just to have me sweep floors? Looking him in the eye, he lifted the broom and held it like a club, ready to go at it. Wuyue chuckled. I would lose too much letting you just sweep for a 9th grade pill. Tell me, where exactly do you look like a hard-working and conscious sweeper? Zhuo Fan checked himself and shook his head. He could sweep enemies, but failed to sweep floors. Laughing, Wuyue turned serious. Zhuo Fan, I have brought you here with the intention to have you become an elite by being sect leader's disciple and represent the sect in the Double Dragon gathering. But High Venerable questioned your ability and had you put in the labor office for trial. I understand High Venerable's worries, but out of the elites, inner disciples, outer disciples, and labor office, did it have to be the worst one? I'm a 7th layer profound heaven cultivator, for crying out loud, yet don't even qualify as an outer disciple? And what's that Double Dragon gathering anyway? It's too soon for you to know. As for High Venerable's decision, I am to blame. I've praised you so much that High Venerable grew skeptical and thus put you in the labor office. If you're that great, then you should be able to stand out even there. I thought the same, so I agreed. Since with your skills, getting great merit should be easy. Wuyue snickered. Zhuo Fan's face twitched all this while, flipping, shove it. At least give me something to work with. How am I supposed to get merit without some guidelines? With how detached labor office is from the rest, I won't achieve anything. Besides, the merit of strengthening laborers falls on Yu Ling and Kue Lang. What am I supposed to do? It's all in your hands now to figure out, to prove to the whole sect what you can do. If you can't surpass even those two, you'll be stuck in the labor office forever. He brushed off his impeccable sleeves and stopped spouting vulgarities in front of me. This will be your only warning. The next time you'll be sorry. Got that? Freakin' show off. Scratching his nose, Zhuo Fan nodded. Yeah. Great. Now start sweeping. I want to see for myself if you're qualified for labor. Wuyue snickered. This grand and mighty Aravista, the same one that cleaned up Tianyu of all factions and was hailed as best in the empire, was sweeping floors. Wuyue giggled inside. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes, grumbled inside, and the broom flew from his shoulder, releasing a gale. A yellow wave spread from his foot along the floor with crazy speed in an instant. The dust picked up so much it was like a tornado got stuffed in the hall. Cough. Wuyue covered his mouth and nose while shouting, Enough! Stop this instant! Do you hear me? What could possibly be wrong, sect leader? Zhuo Fan halted and the tornado vanished. Wuyue glared, a vein popping on his forehead. You did that on purpose. Is this how you sweep? You're looking for a beating. Is it not? But it's clean. Zhuo Fan pointed below him with a straight face. It was damn spotless, without the slightest grain of dust on the paved floor. But the earlier blue stones had now turned white. Eyebrow twitching, Wuyue balled his fists. You're only alive because I have great plans for you. Fine. Now stop sweeping and do something else. Zhuo Fan was too obedient, spinning on his heel and leaving. Yet he only took a step and heard a crisp sound holding the broom under his arm. It accidentally hit a vase. Now turned to pieces. Wuyue held his head in annoyance. Zhuo waved his hands. Sect leader, I'll fix it right up. He rushed to pick up the pieces, but the broom swung again under his arm and sent a jade carving flying, sending fragments all over the clean floor as it shattered. Wuyue's eyebrow jumped, his eyes burning red hot, wishing nothing more than to tear Zhuo into nothing. It's all right, sect leader. I'll handle it. Zhuo manned up, but Wuyue had had enough. Handle your dumb ass. You're only making it worse. Now scram the hell out. You're clearly here to pick a fight. Don't ever sweep again and figure out a way to get out of the labor office. Yes, sect leader. Zhuo snickered inside. Skipping out of the hall, Wuyue was left alone in his jade throne, watching him go, filled with rage. Turning to the pristine floor, now filled with rubble, his wrath knew no bounds. Chapter 530, Patsy. Chapter 530, Patsy. Men, Wuyue screeched. His eyes thick with bloodthirst, a short old man ran inside and shivered at the incoming killing intent. He rushed to greet. Sect leader, why is Sir so angry? Are you blind or what? Can't you see the floor? Wuyue snorted. The man looked around to find the once tidy sect leader hall filled with dust, chinas, and jade carvings on the ground in pieces. Shuddering to wipe his brow, he said, this I do not. I will handle it right away. Wait. The guy rushed to find the culprit and hang him for his crimes, lest the sect leader took his anger out himself. But Wuyue wasn't through by a long shot, barking, you don't have to go. I know who did it. Sect leader knows? The man's brain was all amush with your temper. You should have executed him by now. I should be here to fetch his corpse, but where is it? The guy looked everywhere. Wuyue knew what he was thinking and said, a laborer came here to sweep. Yeah, those wastes must be at fault. God damn it, they are so stupid that they even broke sect leader's stuff. The old man fumed and cut Wuyue off. Sect leader, I will look into it and bring back the culprit's head. He got up to leave again, but Wuyue shouted, get back here. I didn't ask you to leave, did I? Faltering, the man lowered his head. Sect leader, what would you ask of me? Stay right there and let me finish. Wuyue stressed every word. The man bobbed like a chicken. Wuyue continued. The name of the laborer is Zhuo. It's great that the sect leader knows his name. I'll go get him at once. The old-timer clapped and laughed, but Wuyue's cold glare cut his joy short. He gave himself a couple of slaps until his cheeks swelled. Sect leader said not to move. Sigh, I'm so careless. Wuyue ignored this episode. Zhuo is at fault, but no one can touch him. So get out there and find me the son of a bitch that put him on sweeping duty and waste him. Wuyue's face was a mask of malice, his tone so icy. The old-timer shivered. What he got from the outburst, though, was, why skip the culprit and have his handler answer for it? This has never happened before. With this example, no one would ever send a sweeper to sect leader's home. They'd draw straws to decide, but since Wuyue didn't explain, in no way was he going to ask, just bowed and walked backwards. Wuyue was left alone again, among the rubbish, and his anger spiked in the labor office. The people were returning after completing their tasks to hand over the tools. Kuei Lang, Yu Ling, and Elder Yuan took stock and found that out of all disciples, only Zhuo was missing. Elder Yuan frowned with worry. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang had a twisted smile. The guy must be done for. Kuei Lang snickered. Yu Ling nodded, her eyes glinting. Sect leader has a vile temper, picky about everything. Many laborers failed to satisfy sect leader's demands and paid with their lives. The kid has just arrived and is going into sect leader's home. He's sure to flop. Hi, the kid won't be coming back. Everyone laughed, reveling in another's misfortune. Only Elder Yuan sighed. Yu Ling, we can't do it ourselves because of the kid's backing, but getting on sect leader's bad side, he will end up dead all the same. No one in the demon scheming sect will make a peep. He contradicted his betters yesterday, and now he is toast. Kuei Lang smiled at Yu Ling. Yu Ling nodded, but then a thunderous shout came from above. They saw a small old man flying over. All managers of the labor office, get out now. Isn't that executive son of the sect leader's hall? Kuei Lang smiled. Yu Ling's smile grew. The kid must have done it now. Executive usually just barks at us for a while, then sends us to fetch a corpse. That must be it. But was it a win or a loss getting yelled at for killing that prick? It's a loss for us and a win for the kid. Think about it. For a waste like him to get a radiant stage expert's tongue lashing must be his fortune. Ha ha ha. Kuei Lang laughed. Right, ha. The two laughed until Executive Son approached. Executive Son, you honor us with your presence. I am Yuan Xingong, a manager of the labor office. Sod off, you think I don't know who's in charge of labor office. You're just a glorified manager, that's it. Get Yu Ling and Kuei Lang to see me. Executive Son flicked his sleeve and snapped. Elder Yuan shirked back. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang rushed over with a bow. Greetings, Executive Sunday. What are your orders? Orders? Giving any orders to you will soon have my head served on a silver platter, dragging me with you into hell. Executive Son snapped. What kind of disciple did you send to sweep sect leader's hall? He didn't just botch it, but wreck the place. He almost tore the whole hall apart. It is our fault. Please ease your anger, Executive Son. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling bobbed their heads, putting on a pained look, yet their hearts jumped with glee. The punk must have struck a calamity. He's definitely toast. Yu Ling apologized again, then probed, Executive Son. We will deal with his body at once and clean up the hall. His body? I didn't say anything about a corpse. Executive Son eyed them coldly. The two were stumped. Did the sect leader wipe him off the face of this world? Squinting in joy, Yu Ling added. Executive Son sneered. Keep dreaming. The kid ran. He's not in the sect leader's hall. He ran? Both of them shouted. He got off after such a disaster? That punk sure is something. Kuei Lang bowed at once. Executive Son, he can't escape. I will search the entire sect if I have to. We cannot trouble inner and outer disciples over this. Search? When sect leader himself let him run. Sect leader doesn't even blame him for his mistake. Executive Son roared. Dong. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang's brains were hammered, looking lost and dumb. He wrecked everything, yet sect leader let him go. That's not his style. Executive Son saw through them with a sneer. Even I couldn't believe it after so many years around sect leader. But this is sect leader's order, that no one can touch Zhuo Fan. And who was the damn bastard who put him on sweeping duty at sect leader's home? Sect leader wants a punching bag. Executive Son's bloodthirst slammed into them, shivering. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang were soaked in sweat. Zhang Fuguwei, I thought I told you to sweep sect leader's home. Why did you make Zhuo Fan do it instead? Kuei Lang's eyes roamed around until they settled on a disciple. Zhang Fuguwei shirked, scared out of his mind. No, I swept Venerable, sure. Silence. I told you to sweep sect leader's home, yet you put Zhuo Fan on it? Don't you know that the more seasoned disciples must take care of it? A newbie like him was bound to wreck the place. You were pushing others around and got sect leader furious. For your offense, you shall die. Bam! Kuei Lang dumped all kinds of crimes on his head and struck before he could explain. The fierce gale made him spit blood and breathe his last, becoming Kuei Lang and Yu Ling's Patsy. He didn't know even now how he had earned their ire, what he did to deserve this. Chapter 531, Special Background. Chapter 531, Special Background. Bang! Zhang Fuguwei's corpse hit the ground with blood leaking from every hole. His eyes wide open and oblivious, the other disciples stepped back, shivering in fear. Kuei Lang bowed at Executive Son again. Executive Sir, I have dealt with the perpetrator. What are Sir's commands? Executive Son was an old weasel as well, knowing when not to question, and just warned. Kuei Lang, Yu Ling, I don't care about what personal game you're playing, but stay out of the sect's affairs, or else. Executive Son left the threat hanging with savage killing intent, making the two bob their heads in fear. Also, Executive Son continued, in my decade alongside sect leader, I hardly ever saw him raging like this. But even rarer was a rage that he bottled up. That Zhuo Fan may be a laborer, but you better watch it next time. The two's hearts sank, grimacing. Who the hell is he for not even sect leader would touch him? This is a small matter, but from the sect leader's attitude, The two felt even worse. Executive Son flicked his sleeve. Since the culprit is punished, I'll be reporting my progress. You better behave. Executive Son took to the skies. The two bowed again. Take care, Executive Son. They only straightened when the man was gone from their sights. Their eyes filled with shock. Elder Yuan came over giggling. I told you so. Zhuo isn't normal. Shove off. The two snapped. Elder Yuan shirked and faltered. The two dealt with the corpse and the other disciples disbanded. Waiting around the labor office for Zhuo to arrive, they waited and waited, well into the evening. That was when Zhuo strutted over with the broom on his shoulder. Yuling gnashed her teeth, enraged. Zhuo, now you show up? Where have you been? Don't you know you must return after your task? Nope, no one told me. Zhuo said simply. Yuling felt awkward. Her and Kuei Lang lost for words. They had put him on sect leader's home with the obvious intention to not see him again. Wasting words on a dead guy wasn't anyone's hobby, yet this schmuck didn't just return, but even talked back. He's got such backing that not even the sect leader wants to mess with him. The two watched Zhuo with fear and suspicion. They were dying to put him in his place, but the fear of his backers overwrote that desire. So the two were at an impasse, staring at the stuck-up Zhuo showing off his swag. Bottling the rage, Kuei Lang said, since it's your first strike and did not know, I'll overlook it. But next time you will be punished. The fact that he didn't take Zhuo head on the spot showed clearly that he didn't want to mess with Zhuo grinned. They must have got the news already to crush their own pride. But Zhuo cared not one bit. Sure, I'll be waiting then. He passed the two with a roll of his eyes, not even looking at them. Hey, is this how you act? You're under us, a laborer, yet you're ordering us? Kuei Lang was this close to exploding. Yuling glared at his back, but reined all the hatred in. Kuei Lang, he has a special background. Before we are clear what that is exactly, we best not tackle him. We will figure it all out once we look into him. Kuei Lang nodded, flaring his nostrils. While the next tasks were handed out, only Zhuo was left idle since no one pushed any work on him when it came to elders. This young master must have one hell of a background to act all cocky. What was worse, anything the two tried would backfire. The earlier case showed it. They got him to sweep sect leader's home, yet he played around until sect leader vented on the labor office. If they were any more late in reacting, they'd have ended up as Patsy's. Yuling lost all intent to mess with Zhuo, even hoping for the latter to not come looking for trouble. It went so far that every time tasks were handed out, they singled Zhuo out in cleaning the most desolate places. Like the ancestral cemetery, the plaza at the entrance manned by two pupils welcoming guests. Stuff like that. Those were the only places he couldn't cause trouble at, or any mess he made could be covered. Zhuo spent the next 2 months carefree and easygoing, totally ignoring Wuyue's advice. As for getting some credit to participate in the Double Dragon Thingy, thanks but no thanks. He had all the peace and quiet needed to cultivate here, in the labor office. Strutting like a man with a supposedly high background, others gave him a wide berth. Only the old man with a broad mentality dropped by to debate on the Tao. All in all, life was good, lavishing in the tranquility he had yearned for so long. As for the labor office being dirt poor in regards to resources, humph, make way, moneybags coming through. Zhuo couldn't be happier these few months, just around the time the demon scheming sect's inter-sect promotion began. Not that he ever gave a damn. Him, it falls to us, labor office, to build the outer disciple promotion stage. Work hard, people. If 3 days later something is out of place and the competition can't be held, it's your ass on the line. Kuei Lang, Yuling, and Elder Yuan spoke to the laborers. Kuei Lang was using his big voice to intimidate them. What he got instead was mockery. They are just fighting. What's the point of making a show out of it? Are outer disciples so useless that they can't fight without a stage? Our Asura circle is far more fitting. The others covered their mouths. Everyone knew who it was without even looking. The only one to contradict their two bosses in the labor office like a true wastrel was Zhuo with his special background, so special that even these two prodigal children filled with hot air could only gnash their teeth. This had been going on over the past few months, quipping at them whenever the chance presented itself. Zhuo, stop complaining. Do you want to live or not? Kuei Lang fumed. Zhuo shrugged. Want? Kuei Lang looked like he was about to cry. He was the boss in the labor office, but ever since this prick showed up, His name had plunged and plunged at the hands of this obnoxious tyrant. He was a damn spoiled brat. Yuling held her head, lamenting her fate. She never nitpicked with the kid, but the brat had other plans, bothering the hell out of them every time and pissing them off. Just why do all elders and venerables' prodigal sons end up in the labor office? At least take some of them to the outer sect. But they all knew this prodigal son would one day get bumped up at some point and leave. But when, in a few years, anything would be better than being stuck in the same place with him. Squinting, they glared at the unfazed Zhuo Fan, then sighed at their misfortune. Elder Yuan laughed it up. Dad. Sister. The two sudden voices caught everyone by surprise. They watched two young people rushing over. One was a lovely girl Zhuo Fan knew, Wuyue, and the other was a youth in his 20s wearing fancy clothes and bearing a striking resemblance with Kuei Lang. His son, probably Wuyue, and Kuei Lang smiled on seeing each other, but Zhuo Fan eyed the limp hand of Wuyue with a sharp look. Still damaged? Chapter 532. Dangerous Smile. Chapter 532. Dangerous Smile. Wuyue, how is your practice of demon-devouring saber going? Are you confident in this outer sect promotion? Yuling smiled at her baby sister, faltering for a moment. Wuyue revealed a disarming smile. It won't be a problem. Nearby, Kuei Lang was patting his son's shoulder, laughing. You better become an inner disciple in this competition, or all your old man's effort would be for naught. Dad, I won't let you down. The youth's eyes showed conviction. Kuei Lang smiled in pride with Yuling. Yuling, who do you think will win if my son and your sister fight? Kuei Lang raised an eyebrow. Yuling held supreme confidence. Wuyue, of course. No, it's my son. He's stronger. Kuei Lang shook his head. Yuling glared. My sister. My son. Sister. The two went back and forth, with the argument getting heated by the second, while Wuyue and the youth just shrugged. The outer sect competition is around the corner, and you're squabbling as if you're the one going up there. Zhuo Fan crept up on them like a ghost, saying, it's more likely to end as a draw. No one's really better than the other. They're equal, right? Ugh. The two focused their anger on Zhuo Fan, shouting, beat it. Shirking, Zhuo Fan grinned and walked away. Kuei Lang glared. Zhuo Fan, what a rotten mouth you have. My son is about to enter the competition, yet you have nothing nice to say? Are you mocking him instead, hoping that he would lose? If anything happens to Wuyue, you will be sorry. Yuling's eyes grew savage like a tigress, baring her fangs. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Not my problem. And you started it. In the competition, it is either win-lose, lose-win, or draw. How could they have a smooth sailing? Oh, they were left speechless, resorting to snorts and flicking their sleeves. Zhuo Fan, you sure pack a sharp mouth. Kuei Lang sighed. Feeling powerless, this punk would one day kill me due to anger alone. Wuyue pouted and sulked. I get that he always annoys me every time we meet, but why is sister enraged too? While the young man was dumbfounded at the weird scene, his old man was pretty well known even among the inner sect. Ending up cast out in the labor office ought to make him king. But who was this guy with clearly weaker cultivation to talk back to his dad? And why isn't dad doing anything about it? This situation stinks to high heaven. Looking at the cringing laborers standing in line, only Zhuo Fan did what he wanted, to perform his circus act as a mockery to these two leaders. It only worked to deepen his doubts though. Dad, he is. The youth pointed at Zhuo Fan. Kuei Lang groaned, to which Zhuo Fan laughed and stuck out his chest. I am your father's fellow disciple, Zhuo Fan. Since you're his son, call me Senior Uncle Zhuo for now. Senior Uncle Zhuo, I am Kuei Gang. Greetings. The kid got intimidated and responded quickly while Kuei Lang rushed over and helped his son up while cursing, Ganger, you can't be so naive to get duped so easily. This punk is some prodigal son for sure. But he has nothing to do with me at all, so how can you call him Senior Uncle? Kuei Lang glared at Zhuo Fan. Rotten punk. I can take your crass remarks and quips but know when to quit. Don't ever mess with my son. So what if I call you my fellow brother? It is your honor. When your son comes crying to his uncle, I might just ignore him. Zhuo Fan shrugged with a grin that deserved a beating. Kuei Lang was about to blow a gasket, yet had no way to vent. Kuei Gang was dumbstruck. Why all the mockery then? If the young guy wasn't his dad's fellow disciple, how can dad still take it? The laborers knew fully well why. Snickering inside and giving Zhuo a thumbs up on the sly Zhuo's background was a huge nebula, but at least this prodigal son wasn't hard on fellow laborers, taking it out on the two bosses. It was like he was the labor office's spokesman. Kuei Lang pulled Kuei Gang, pointing at Zhuo with a hard face. Ganger, see that? He is a nobody, using his connections to get into the sect. He might one day end up an elder executive, but he won't achieve anything in life. So don't hang out with the likes of him. He'll drag you down. You're bound to go higher than him. Yu Ling did the same with her sister, wearing her disgust on her face while pointing at Zhuo. Zhuo became the two's perfect negative example. Zhuo grinned uncaringly. So what if I'm a prodigal son? Aren't you the same? Using your meager pull to give your connections, materials to train? Humph, there's no end to human greed. With power comes skimming. It's only logical. What would be the point of power then? You're mocking me for being a prodigal son when in fact you want to follow in my footsteps and pick on others. We're all demonic cultivators here. What's so great about showing off while faking innocence? Zhuo had a flat tone, but no matter how it sounded, he had mocked the two Kuei Gang and Yuan nodded. Zhuo's wording was a tad blunt, but made damn good sense. They had to believe him. The more you hate someone, the more you want to be like them. But no one wanted to admit their envy. Humph, enough of your sophistry. Yuan and Ganger have good talents and are hardworking. They're sure to advance. All we do is give our best in supporting them. Unlike you, wasting your life away as you wait for death, stuck in the same dead-end position. You don't know any martial arts, and the only reason you live through Asura circle is because of your high cultivation. I bet you'd sooner meet your end in the circle before your patron busts you out of here. Kuei Lang shouted, trying to salvage a modicum of self-respect. Zhuo only had a taunting look. Ignorant man. Martial skills are only tools while cultivation is the core. I know no martial arts, but my heart and my mind are solely on the Tao, helping me see through its mysteries and advance. Insight is the essence of cultivation, of skills and cultivation methods. Focusing on being staunch yet neglecting fundamentals is so laughable. Kuei Lang paused, then shouted, Zhuo, what did you say? I didn't catch that. Dong. The minds of everyone exploded. Wearing long faces and holding their heads at his awkward look, Kuei Gang was blushing in shame. Dad sucks at quarreling, not even getting what the other party says. Then again, that was who he was, a guy who relied on his fists. Alas, he couldn't use them this time. Elder Yuan sighed. The disciples of this sect always fought and were ruthless, emphasizing ability over Tao. For even a radiant stage expert like Kuei Lang to be so ignorant of the Tao, he could only lament if this went on. Demon scheming sect would be stuck in the lower three sects for thousands of years. Yet Zhuo, who had come from the secular world, had amazing insights on Tao. Him leading the sect would move the sect down the right path, towards a glorious future. Elder Yuan's eyes shined. Oh, what's all the hubbub? Why are laborers sitting around idle? A teasing voice said. They all turned to see an elegant woman swinging her hips. With how the labor office was filled with men, they all gulped at such a fine specimen entering their pen, only to lower their heads the next second. Because this creature was another savage beast, she was no other than who Mayor Zhuo sneered inside. Her kind smile only hides daggers. The last time she showed up, he ended up getting sneak attacked, and this time something was bound to happen as well. Only the target isn't me this time around. Zhuo followed her vixen eyes and arrived at Yu Ling and her sister. Chapter 533, Nimble Laborer. Chapter 533, Nimble Laborer. Senior Sister Mayor, it's been a while. Yu Ling cupped her hands, coming over with her sister. Thank you for watching over Yuan while I was away. I can never repay your gratitude. With a melodious voice, who Mayor waved her off. We're all sisters here. Oh, Yuan, how is your practice going? Senior Sister, I am now proficient. Yuan cupped her hand's paw, landing her hand hard on Yuan's shoulder, who Mayor spoke her earnest feelings. Yuan, you must work hard. Look how much your sister has done for you. You can't let all her efforts go to waste. You must advance. Yuan frowned in pain, but her face hardened with a nod. Who Mayor's eyes glinted and beamed. Yu Ling smiled as well, happy that Yuan was taken care of. Zhuo watched from afar with sharp eyes. Oh, Ganger, how is your blood annihilation training going? Hu Mayer turned to Kuei Gang with the most caring look. Kuei Gang nodded. Good. I've been making great progress these days, Senior Aunt Mayer. I will definitely advance. Hu Mayer's smile turned sinister. Kuei Lang brought his son over. Junior Sister Mayer, it is all thanks to you that Ganger has such confidence in the competition, for giving us the blood annihilation martial art only the inner sect disciples can access. With me and Yuling cast out, we are blessed to have you, even using your chance to enter the scripture hall for us. Thank you. Senior brother, we've always been fellow disciples, and that will never change. Of course I'd help. With you in trouble, I of course had to stick out for the juniors like a senior aunt. Hu Mayer smiled. Kuei Lang was touched to tears. She is one of the few reliable people in the sect. Ganger, here is the 5th grade spirit blood pill. When you feel like your time in the competition is too hard, take it and I assure you you'll soar. It works well with blood annihilation, doubling its effect. Hu Mayer's enchanting smile came out as she presented a vial. Kuei Gang trembled with gratitude and was filled with excitement. This pill was what he needed the most. A 5th grade pill was a rarity for outer disciples. Even more so were the pills for the battlefield. He might not just pass the promotion, but even attract an elder's attention. Kuei Lang was touched to the core. Mayer, you're like a mother to him. Senior brother, please, don't say that. Hu Mayer blushed and Kuei Lang chuckled. The audience watched with envy. With her care, Yuan and Kuei Gang are bound to become inner disciples, following in their father and sister's glory. Unlike them who were stuck in this hellhole for all their lives, fighting for their lives in the Asura circle just to survive a little while longer. Senior brother, junior sister, I'll let you finish the stage. I wouldn't want to delay you in case you end up getting chided. Yuan and Ganger, work had you too. Don't always stay at your dad and sister's side. You're all so big now. Hi. Hu Mayer smiled, batted her eyes and flew away. Yuan and Kuei Gang were happy to have her. Yuling and Kuei Lang were grateful as well. Only Zhuo Fan popped up next to them with a sour tone. That sister is too mean, leaving without even looking at me. To think that she was luring me so hard when I just got here, but now that I've hit rock bottom, she only cares about herself. Humph. What did you say? All four glared at him. No one would accept someone speaking ill of their friend. Zhuo Fan faltered back and snorted. You won't believe me, but I'm a good judge of character. She is no angel, that's for sure. She's only helping you to further her games. Seeing we're all companions in the labor office, let me remind you, you never truly know a person. Shut your pie hole. Kuei Lang snapped. I know the inner sect is filled with cruel and petty people who sow dissent like you. Right is right and demonic is demonic. The demon scheming sect still cares about right and wrong. We once helped junior sister Mayer, and now she is repaying it. So stop your false accusations, you ignorant fool. Squinting, Zhuo Fan had a feeling what was about to happen inside, nourishing a viper in one's bosom. He can't even see it, and fell for it as well. Such schemes were the order of the day in a demonic sect. It wasn't just idiotic, but utterly laughable to believe the other party would return the favor in kind. The sorrow brought back memories of his self-destruction in the sacred domain. He stepped closer with a respectful look, making the 4 days. Then he reached for Kuei Gang's hand and squeezed as. Kuei Gang felt a searing pain shooting through his heart. What are you doing? Kuei Lang broke them off, glaring with hatred at Zhuo Fan, but was more shocked than ever. There was close to a full stage difference, yet he couldn't pick on Zhuo Fan's intent to attack his son, having it happen right under his nose. He felt fear and dread. Zhuo Fan's every move was shrouded in mystery. Uncaring of the audience, Zhuo Fan stared into Kuei Gang's eyes. You have trained in blood annihilation for half a year, right? Around 4 months. Zhuo Fan's hard gaze left no room for non-compliance. He was baffled by his reply as well. Why did I answer this prodigal son? Zhuo Fan nodded. Boy, uncle here will give you a warning. Don't force it, or you will soon live to regret it. Kuei Gang shuddered. The words had mystical power, compelling them to take heed. As if the dire consequence was bound to become reality if the warning was ignored. It goes the same for you. Remember this. Zhuo Fan eyed Yuan stared blankly. Yuling shouted and glared. Get lost. My baby sister is about to enter the competition. How can you say that? You don't have to help us set up the stage, so go to the cemetery behind the mountain. Guard it. I don't want to see you for a month. No matter who has your back in here, you still have to answer to us. So go to the cemetery now. Kuei Lang glowered as Zhuo Fan left without a word, but with a cold smile, but then his snide reply pierced their ears. Proceed at your own risk. Your death is on you. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang glared at his back, but their relatives pondered over his wise words. They felt Zhuo Fan was hinting at something. It was his way of helping Yue. You know him. He likes messing around. So don't listen to him. Yu Ling urged. You must give your all for the promotion. Kuei Lang nodded as well, looking at the two's hopeful gaze. The kids felt at ease. If they failed to be promoted, how could they ever repay their father and sister's efforts? Thus, Zhuo Fan's warning was thrown out of the window. 3 days later, the outer sect promotion was in full swing, with everyone buzzing, except the labor office, since it was the worst place in the sect, having no right to even see it. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang grew tense, waiting for the good news from their son and babysitter. No matter how sure they were that their kids could do it, they still wanted to know. Relax, they will surely win. But what about Zhuo Fan? When will you let him come back? The thickening atmosphere over there isn't good for prolonged stay. Elder Yuan consoled on one hand and pleaded Zhuo Fan's case on the other. Yu Ling glared. I wish he'd rot in there, but I have no choice but to call him back in fear of the sect's investigation. Elder Yuan sighed. Just then, a shout came from outside. Labor office's leaders, come out, you have a newcomer. Elder Yuan ran over, but then he shouted, Yu Ling, it's your sister. Yu Ling paled from fright and rushed over. She saw her baby sister soaked in blood and barely breathing. The man at her side stated, outer disciple Yue received heavy wounds in the promotion contest. Her meridians are broken. She is a reject now and is being transferred to the labor office. Chapter 534. Taking it out on Zhuo Fan. Chapter 534. Taking it out on Zhuo Fan. The man's voice felt like daggers sinking into Yu Ling, yet the man had no sympathy. Leaving as he came, cold and callous, Elder Yuan begged, Executive sir, what happened? Doesn't failing the promotion mean being eliminated from the competition? Why has she been sent here? The executive snorted. It is true that losing doesn't warrant being sent here, but this girl's meridians are shot, and she can't stay in the outer sect anymore. Where else are we to throw our waste if not here in this dump? Besides, don't you have that Asura circle? The least she could do is be a good material for the sect. What did you say? Yu Ling was outraged, exploding with power and charging at him. Her red eyes showed clearly that her mind was consumed by fury. Kuei Lang grabbed her and struggled. Yu Ling, calm down. Do you want your soul pulverized? Yu Ling's reason returned and her heart cooled. The executive sneered. You're all criminals, even though stronger than me. You still have to stand and watch. Disrespect your betters, and see how the sect's rules will put you in your place. Damn prodigal. Kuei Lang fumed, but hid his anger behind a straight face and a bow. They knew this executive well, a fellow disciple. Because of his dad being an elder, unable to advance to the inner sect, he lived in the outer sect and became an executive. His talent was so poor that he would never go beyond the second layer of radiant stage. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling only had disdain for this wastrel, but even more fear. Forgive me, executive sir. I was rash and forgot my manners. I only wish to understand how my baby sister ended up so hurt in the competition. I asked that executive would clarify. Yu Ling bowed and cupped her hands. The executive mocked. Why? For revenge? Give up? A sinner like you has no right to touch anyone outside the labor office, or face the sect's ultimate punishment. But my sister is crushed and her life is ruined. For the other party to be so heavy-handed, they must have done it on purpose. How could I, twisted-faced Rakshasa, just let it go? Yu Ling raged. Everyone around her felt a chill from the depths of her wrath. Kuei Lang was about to stop her, but sighed. The executive pondered but still refused. It's not hard to find the identity of her opponent, but I warn you to let it go. Because what happened to your sister is all due to herself. How can you say that? Yu Ling was stunned. The executive said, everyone watching the competition saw your sister exhibit tremendous power with the demon-devouring saber, even scaring her opponent. But the savage energy ran out of control and she received a backlash, resulting in her wretched state. So there's no need to feel hatred for the other. It lies with your sister's unskilled use of the art. What? How? Yuling couldn't believe her ears that Yuera had done it to herself and slumped to the ground from shock now that she had no one to vent to for her baby sister's miserable state. She was left alone with rage and hatred festering inside at her dull gaze. The others shook their heads. Yuera, why didn't you tell me that you couldn't control the savage energy? I wouldn't have given you so many materials. Yuling bawled next to the prone Yuera. The others nodded. Yeah. You should have said something, and these two big shots wouldn't have started an Asura circle, killing so many for your sake. So many died, and for what? For you to suffer a backlash? Damn brat. No sense of propriety and lacking morals. A shame for all those wasted materials. Reaching a shaky hand for Yuling's finger, Yuera's weary voice cut off the sobbing. Sister, forgive me. I've let you down. It doesn't matter now. But how did you? Yuling was heartbroken. Not knowing how to reprimand her, Yuera was also crestfallen. Sister, I had control of the demon-devouring saber, but then my arm was hurt. Yuling cried. Where? How? Who did it? Yuera's frail voice came. 2 months ago. I found Zhuo Fan's entry to the sect suspicious and attacked him. I hurt him, and he hurt me, but my wound never recovered. Zhuo Fan. Having the outlet she needed, Yuling roared. You did this, and now I'll make you pay. You've ruined my baby sister, and I will cut you to ribbons. Kuei-Lang exclaimed. Yeah, didn't he warn us just before the competition? He knew something and didn't let on. Or maybe he's behind it all, taking revenge on us. Yuling's eyes screamed bloody murder, utterly convinced that Zhuo Fan was to blame for Yuera's pitiful state. Oh no. Kuei-Lang face-bombed. Since he did this to Yuera, that means my son shit. Kuei-Lang rushed for the competition when a light flew at them. Whoosh. A gray robe appeared, throwing what he held on the ground and barking. Labor office, you have a newcomer. Ganger. The one dumped on the ground was his son, and was just as wretched as Yuera. Bleeding all over. How could this happen? The previous executive watched over stunned. The gray robe waved. Just what is going on today? That girl was the first, and this kid is the second. Both collapsed from backlash the minute they let out a big move. And he even took a battle pill. The backlash was so strong it exploded his vessels. As a cripple, it's the labor office's problem now. So that's why. The previous executive nodded, sighing at the two kids' unfortunate ending. Such unnecessary risk when there's always next year's promotion. Why force it? Why risk your life? Look at me. I've been in the outer sect for 9 years, yet still made out as an executive. Bullshit. That's all on your father. You did jack squat. All he got was rolled eyes. Zhuo Fan. Kuei-Lang balled his fists and howled. You ruined my son, and I'll ruin you. The brat did it to Ganger too. Yuling frowned. Kuei-Lang nodded. Yuling, did you forget? 3 days ago, he put his hand on my son's arm. I didn't find anything bad about it, but he must have done something for sure. That punk is our greatest enemy. Yuling raged. Kuei-Lang, let's go rip his head and make bone meal out of him. Let's go. Kuei-Lang shot to his feet and rushed for the cemetery with Yuling. Elder Yuan jumped in. Wait, sirs, before we know how this happened, we shouldn't make rash decisions. Buzz off. No one in the sect is a saint, only enemies or allies. Shoving him aside, the two rushed on. Elder Yuan turned to the others. Executive sirs, stop them please or things will get horrible. Zhuo Fan can't be touched. The executives shook their heads. What can we do? Those are the Black Yama and twisted-faced Rakshasa who fought their way into the inner sect. We're not their match. Rules put us above them, but with how lost and raged they are, we will be the ones to suffer instead. Besides, this is the labor office's problem. We have done our part. Goodbye. The two bolted away. Elder Yuan stomped and cursed. Damn wastrels. All of them are useless. They don't care even when disciples are at each other's throats. Demon scheming sect will meet its end at their hands at some point. Elder Yuan had a pained expression. Chapter 535. Strongest Laborer. Chapter 535. Strongest Laborer. Demon scheming sect cemetery housed the previous generations of sect leaders, venerables, and elders. The immense power they wielded in life became poison after death, filling the cemetery in a dark energy, and gave off a haunting feeling. The weak coming here would find this in rotting their meridians, while longer exposure would lead to damage to their core, crippling them for that reason. The laborers assigned cleaning duty here would always come under a clear sky and in the afternoon, with the sun's yang protecting them from the cemeteries, in spending the night would be the last thing on their minds. With such a thick and darkness, once it got into their body, it was nigh impossible to remove it. Even a strong Yuan Qi didn't offer great protection. Everyone would suffer the same fate here, be that as it may. On that night with the moon shining overhead, there was one black-robed person sitting in the center of the cemetery, unaffected by the eerie wind blowing, by the black energy curling thicker and thicker around him, sucked in the yin. The instant it got too close, all this while, an azure flame burned on his forehead. No one but Zhuo Fan would be caught cultivating here. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang dumped him here as a punishment, not as a death sentence. At least not before they did a background check with Zhuo Fan's profound heaven cultivation. This place wouldn't take his life, but would exhaust all his energy, making for a very good punishment. How would they know that Zhuo Fan was a freak everywhere he went? The yin here was deadly to all but him. Another man's treasure, and all that with demon transformation art sucking up anything and everything. He'd be dumb to miss the chance of sucking generations upon generations of demon scheming sex powerhouses in energy. So while this cultivation method worked on his body, the azure flame tended to his soul, and within 3 days Zhuo Fan's cultivation was soaring. On the brink of a breakthrough, he was ecstatic. This place was a funeral for the rest, yet heaven for him. It was so good that he didn't feel like leaving even when the month turned whoosh. 2 sounds entered his ears. The azure flame was gone, and the black energy went back inside him as he sighed. Annoyed. Those schmucks just can't see me happy, huh? They have me sweeping this place and have now sent a foreman to watch me? Now I can't even cultivate in peace. Zhuo Fan stood up, took his broom, and went to work on the leaves and pebbles on the floor. Pure pretense, of course. He didn't want to give the fools an excuse to annoy him further. Since you've got a foreman on me, then watch closely. Rustle. Zhuo Fan looked like an honest worker for a change. Sweeping the place just then, Kuei Lang and Yu Ling, bent on murder, sprung at him. Zhuo Fan asked with a frown, "What's wrong with you? Can't you see I'm working here? Why are you looking at me like that? You have the nerve to ask that now? Are you that blind to even your own immoral actions?" Yu Ling snarled. Kuei Lang shouted, "Zhuo Fan, if you have anything against us, take it out on us. But don't be so twisted as to lay your hands on children to ruin their lives." Zhuo Fan got the gist of what was going on inside. "I see. So it happened. Humph. See, Yu Ling. He knows everything. He must have done it." Kuei Lang was sure of it now, hearing his reply. Yu Ling could hardly contain her rage. Zhuo Fan's face hardened, having lost his jovial mood. "I warned you not to force things, but did you listen? Now those juniors are crippled. You're full of it. You're trying to act like a saint when you were the one who hurt my sister. And now you'll preach from your moral high ground? I will have your head." Yu Ling struck, but Zhuo Fan casually blocked it. Zhuo Fan's voice was chilling to the bone. "I have no grudge with you and want no conflict. But if you insist, then it'll be your funeral. Cheeky, aren't you? But what can a wastrel do with a 7th layer of profound heaven cultivation, entering the sect thanks to his daddy against the likes of us? Don't you know the difference between radiant stage and profound heaven stage? We can kill you with a thought." Kuei Lang mocked. Zhuo Fan shook his head, his eyes a sucking abyss. "More than you know. But I am not your average cultivator, and advise you against starting something you can't finish. You don't make the cut." "Insolent little bastard." The two shouted. Yu Ling turned to Kuei Lang. "He has a soul demonic treasure, so soul attacks won't work. That must be his crutch. Let's do it together and offer his head to Yuer and Ganger. We'll just face it if those behind him come for revenge. But don't go too fast. Let's take his life at the same time. All right? I want revenge for my son." "Right back at you." Yu Ling and Kuei Lang nodded and went on the offensive in their minds. Killing a profound heaven cultivator was nothing. The crux was who did it first. The two wanted to kill Zhuo Fan so badly that they agreed to do it at the same time, to quench their hatred. But Zhuo Fan just stood there, as if just waiting to take the punishment. He was in fact. That ripple had the two shudder on the inside. A radiant stage's soul attack? The two replied with their own soul attacks. Bam. That clash had them falter back 5 steps. Gone was their contempt and rage, replaced by shock. Impossible. Zhuo Fan stood in his spot with a broom in hand, bearing a sneer. Now do you get it? You didn't affect me in the Asura circle, not because of some soul demonic treasure, but by me having a stronger soul than both of you combined. The two squinted, finding it hard to believe that this was real. A profound heaven expert soul being stronger than 2 radiant stage experts? And he can even release it in attacks? That's clearly in the realm of radiant stage. So why? Leave. Stop wasting my time. You're not my match. Zhuo Fan dissed them casually. The two's faces changed, no longer seeing him as just a nobody, but one equal to them. Not that that would change anything with the likes of Zhuo Fan and his freaky strength. Yuling took a deep breath and turned to Kuei Lang. His soul is at peak radiant stage. Forget about him being in the profound heaven stage and treat him like a radiant stage expert. Let's go all out and kill him in one blow. All right. Kuei Lang agreed. Nobody would do this normally, but they were out for blood and wouldn't go back empty-handed even if it meant going down with him. Pa. The two shot towards Zhuo Fan from left and right. They flitted across with great ease and reappeared in Zhuo Fan's face with palm attacks. Profound ranked martial art, moon palm. Crack. Dark blue ice covered Yuling's palm, making Zhuo Fan feel the coldness before it even reached him. Profound ranked martial art, wind wolf rake. Kuei Lang shouted afterwards. With a beast howl, his claw sent thousands of wind blades, wanting to make mincemeat out of Zhuo Fan. Yuling and Kuei Lang showed a cruel smile at what was about to happen, yet Zhuo Fan was nonplussed. Bored, he held the broom, and as his right arm flashed red, he swept whoosh. A tornado rose to the heavens, cutting away Kuei Lang's wind blades to nothing while the broom landed on his chest and sent him flying on his way down to earth. He left a trail of blood sweeping Kuei Lang away. Meant it was Yuling's turn. Her ice formed and was about to strike when it got smashed to pieces by that swipe. While she was flicked away the same way that huge force shot into her body and made her spurt blood, the two slammed the ground, too weak to even move, while Zhuo Fan held the broom at the same spot with a dull look. Like nothing had actually happened, but the two were shell-shocked at his might. He's in the profound heaven stage, yet is so powerful. It went on to show that a dragon was a dragon, even down on his dumps. Just a wave of a broom had these two bosses of the labor office flying. Chapter 536, Exposed. Chapter 536, Exposed. Zhuo Fan, are you Auric Elder Yuan and a few laborers were shouting on their way here, but the scene they saw had their brains on the fritz. Zhuo Fan was the perfect embodiment of a laborer, with that broom on his shoulder and those plain clothes. But that cocky look left no room for discussions. Just like a god, while Yuling and Kuei Lang watched him, stunned and bleeding from the mouth, collapsed on the ground in fear. It took just one strike to counter their all-out attacks and leave them with a heavy wound. Who the hell is he? Elder Yuan made his way there and was watching the play with bugged-out eyes. What happened here? Why isn't he dead yet, and the others are on the ground instead? Zhuo Fan glanced over. Elder Yuan, what are you doing here? I wanted to urge them not to do this. Buy time for someone to call the 4 Venerables to help you. But there's no point now. Elder Yuan was puzzled. Zhuo Fan nodded. Ha. Thank you, Elder Yuan, for your concern. But there's no need for that. They don't have what it takes to hurt me. Take them away. I will be staying for a while longer. We'll debate on the topic of demons and Tao at the first chance I get. Elder Yuan nodded absent-mindedly. Not knowing the situation did not mean not understanding the outcome. Kuei Lang and Yuling had no way of taking Zhuo Fan's life, and knowing that, he rested easier, so he called the other disciples to pick up the two and left the laborers clicked their tongues seeing their 2 big shots, so wretched and unable to even move. That's why Elder Yuan keeps saying Zhuo Fan is special. Today proves it. His hidden bodyguard is so tough to deal with these two so quickly. It only worked to assert his status as a wastrel, since not even the sect leader messed with him. Having bodyguards was just a perk of the job. Never in their wildest dreams would they conceive it possible for Zhuo Fan to be the one behind Kuei Lang, and Yuling states. He was just a profound heaven cultivator. That meant his old man's subjects had to have done it, yet only the 2 victims knew the reality, that this creature had the godlike power to crush all the sect's disciples. Never had they met such a freak in their lives, Yet they had the worst luck ever to make an enemy of the only one they shouldn't on their first meeting too. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang looked each other in the eye, reflecting the endless remorse inside. They were ready to die together, for their baby sister and son, but their target of revenge was beyond their comprehension. The two were depressed, wanting to rave at the injustice but couldn't budge an inch. Zhuo Fan showed them just how puny and weak they were. Zhuo Fan, you may be stronger, but I will never forget this hatred. One day I will have you answer for what you did to Yuan. She roared at the heavens. The hateful proclamation had the disciples carrying her shudder in fear, almost dropping her and making a run for it. Kuei Lang glared at Zhuo Fan with fury. Just because they were weaker didn't mean they'd just drop it. Sighing, Zhuo Fan mocked. Get this through your thick skulls. I am no saint, but at least I'm open about it. Me? You and those kids have no bad blood to warrant using dirty tricks. Most of all, I only need to squash you to kill you. Why waste so much time with an over-elaborate plan? Is there anyone else but you? Didn't you warn them of this outcome? You couldn't have known the result unless you planned it yourself. Kuei Lang half believed Zhuo Fan at this point since he made damn good sense. With his strong arm, why waste time? No hidden assaults, no smoke and mirrors, just a simple strike and they'd be dead. Zhuo Fan's strength was his greatest proof of innocence, but Zhuo Fan must have known the real situation and Kuei Lang wanted to find out the truth. I can't just get beaten for nothing without even finding out about my son's culprit. Zhuo Fan smiled. Having him all figured out, ask Wuyue for that. Hasn't she always helped the two scamps? What? The two found it hard to believe. Their trust in Wuyue had never faltered, and they never would have come to this conclusion by themselves. You're throwing blame. Mayor couldn't have done this. What proof do you have? No matter how much Kuei Lang was against it, he still asked Zhuo Fan for proof. Yet Zhuo Fan turned his back on him. Not my problem. Figure it out yourselves. But the next time you come at me, you better be damn sure or my subordinates will end you where you stand. Zhuo Fan flew away, back to the cemetery, leaving the two lost sheep behind. Kuei Lang, do you believe him? Yu Ling faltered. Zhuo Fan's accusation would mean their dear Wuyue was out to get them all along. Nobody could just accept it since in a demonic sect. A friend was a rarity, and to find that same friend had now turned into an enemy would be a crushing blow. Kuei Lang furrowed his brows and closed his eyes. I don't know. But he is right about one thing. He doesn't need petty tricks to handle us. That means he might just be right. Yu Ling was shaken to the core, her mind replaying everything that had happened in the sect, and she paled. I should have known there's no one in the demon-scheming sect worthy of trust. Kuei Lang's silence echoed her thoughts. Elder Yuan ran before them, providing them with a pill. Thank God you're all right. These are mere third-grade pills, but should be enough help to get you moving again. Old Yuan, I never knew that you were so nice. Kuei Lang smiled. You could have spurred Zhuo Fan to kill us and have the labor office all to yourself. Ha ha ha, I'm just a bone-tempering old bag of bones. Besides, we all meet our end at some point. It's up to fate. Life and death is part of the natural order, the cycle of every living thing. Many disciples treat Asura circle as their fate as materials, but their death gives life to others. It's survival of the fittest. However cruel, it has a purpose. It would be too much of a pity for you two to die now. Oh, old Yuan, no matter how much sense that makes, I just can't figure out what you're saying, just like Zhuo Fan. Can't you be simpler? Kuei Lang squinted his dull eyes. Elder Yuan waved him off. Sir Kuei Lang, just tend to your wounds. I was only grumbling about finding time to talk it out with Zhuo Fan. Oh, right. I can't see why Zhuo Fan would get so close to a bone-tempering old man with his strength. It must be these incomprehensible topics, having found someone to talk to. Kuei Lang nodded. Elder Yuan smiled. Yeah, we both wish to understand the nature of this world. Elder Yuan had a disciple take them back to labor office, but by then they could move. Zhuo Fan had obviously gone easy on them. They were going to see where, and Kuei Gang in the room Elder Yuan had arranged for them when a very familiar person approached. The two eyed her with suspicion. Junior Sister Mayor? Kuei Lang spoke openly. She was caressing Yuer's head and turned to them. Senior brother Kuei Lang, junior sister Yu Ling, what happened? Yuer and Ganger are so hurt, yet you went out for a walk? What fortune that I was here to keep them company. Hi. Wuyue's bright giggle sounded like cawing to their ears. It opened them up to how devious she was. Zhuo Fan was right. She led them by the nose all along. They didn't need proof to see it. What friend out there would be gloating over their misfortune? Who mayor? Yu Ling roared inside, and her eyes burned with the flames of revenge. Chapter 537, Course of Events. Chapter 537, Course of Events. Who mayor? They suffered backlash in the competition. Did you do this? Yu Ling squinted at her, sneering. Who mayor declared, How can you say that, junior sister? I have done everything I could to get these poor children to pass the outer sect promotion. With them training themselves into such a state, aren't you afraid I will become colder if you pin the blame on me? Yu Ling had no proof, and words left her even as she tried to cuss Kuei Lang-eyed Hu mayor coldly. Enough of your pretense. We don't know how you did it, but we are clear that you're the culprit behind it. You should be frank right about now, and not play pretend. Hi. Senior brother Kuei Lang is as blunt as always, so I shall oblige. Yes, I planned everything. She grinned. And not just this, but everything since the beginning. The two spoke at the same time. Everything? Why? Did you forget already how you got thrown into the labor office? Blinking her pretty big eyes, Hu mayor mocked. Hi. You sure have a nice life here to ignore the outside world. Speak clearly. Kuei Lang almost burst from the anger. Yu Ling stared daggers at her. Hu mayor jeered. When big brother Kuei Lang had an affair outside the sect, resulting in a son, I reported it to the elders. That's what got you booted into the labor office. As for Ganger, he only escaped execution because of your master being a venerable with plenty of pull. Kudos. Hi. It was you. Kuei Lang balled his fists, his thirst for blood rising. Hu mayor snickered, turning to her next victim. Junior sister, do you remember that 5th grade pill? I was kind enough to give you the tip about it so you could steal it and improve Yuan's constitution. And you lived up to my expectations by going with it. I just had to report you. It was you. Yu Ling shuddered with bloodthirst. Our pains these past decades were all because of you. Why? What did we do to you? I brought you into the sect myself, so why are you so cruel? Kuei Lang was fighting against the rage. His voice shaky. Hu mayor sneered. Of course I had motive, ample in fact. I wouldn't just go about stabbing my friends in the back over nothing. Hu mayor's icy eyes landed on Kuei Lang. Big brother Kuei Lang, I've always respected you since you brought me here, but you shouldn't have pulled your pants and denied me that night. Even daring to call it the sex rule, allowing dual cultivation but forbidding love. You think I'll freaking believe that crap after you went fooling around and even had a child? Try calling that dual cultivation. Ugh. Kuei Lang felt awkward under her stare and sighed. Just over this trifle. Shut it. Of course that's not all. Hu mayor turned to Yu Ling with a creepy smile. What mattered the most was the elite disciples quota. Senior brother Kuei Lang and junior sister Yu Ling were both prominent inner sect disciples and wouldn't refuse going higher, and with the positions being so limited. Shit, that's your real motive, you viper. Kuei Lang's earlier guilt got squashed by anger the instant he heard her. This wretched Hu mayor didn't do it for revenge, but for selfish gains. Curses, being a player will only get you killed. I thought I got what I deserved for being frivolous. Damn, I felt ashamed for nothing. Yuan glared at Hu mayor. I get that you schemed against us for the elite spots, but why go after Yuan? They're just children. With the elite selection about to start, them just entering the inner sect will be of no threat to you. Weeds need to be culled from the roots, lest they grow unchecked. Hu mayor snickered, as your kin. Once the brats found out about my involvement in your punishments, they'll hate me to the bone. So rather than wait for them to come for me, I did a preemptive strike, crippling them. A shame that the sect's rules protect disciples with potential. An inner disciple can't touch the outer ones, unless the latter initiates it. What other choice was there besides plotting their demise at their own hands? I overheard that the sect leader brought in a new disciple, so I got the girl to test him. Getting him to kill her wasn't such a bad outcome, but that Zhuo fan is such a loser, getting hurt instead and ending up in the labor office. Humph, had no choice but to resort to schemes. Chapter 538, The Last Hope. Chapter 538, The Last Hope. Brothers, Let's tear these ignorant fools in four. Violent Demon squeaked, pulling the chain, and the two could move. Violent Demon's claws clutched Kuei-Lang's neck before he could flee. Holding him up in the air, his brothers each grabbed a limb. As they snickered, the four's eerie laughter echoed around as Kuei-Lang felt himself getting pulled in four directions and howled. Yuling panicked. The four pygmies' dreadful aura was keeping her away, and she was unable to help. Yuling paled, hearing their cawing that filled her with fear. Who are they? I get that they're strong, but why come for us? What rotten luck they had. First was the misunderstanding with Zhuo Fan, almost getting plastered to the ground with his godlike power, then finding out their good friend had been toying with them for years, and just as they were about to exact revenge, these four crazy pygmies showed up, making them unable to do anything against them. Yuling was wrought with sorrow, remorse, and shock. On the verge of crying, Kuei-Lang howled with pain, his face red and soaked as his limbs inched further away from their sockets. The four scheming demons cackled all this while, messing around like it was some roughhousing. The usual then. 1, 2, 3, pull. Stop. Kuei-Lang's limbs were at their limit when Elder Yuan came over shouting and begging, "Executive Sirs, please let him go. He did not know of Sir's status and offended you. Please show remorse." Violent Demon snorted, "That doesn't matter, but they also dared to not know our illustrious title. Brothers, pull. Wait, wait, wait." Elder Yuan waved his arms all over the place. "You can't kill them, because they're Steward was friends." What? The pygmies stopped at once, and so did Kuei-Lang's wails, looking at Kuei-Lang, who they were just tearing into. The four broke out in sweat. Then they let him go, placed him on the ground, and started rubbing his shoulders. Violent Demon even shed his usual violent face for a more amiable smile. An honest mistake here, friend of Steward Zhuo. Don't mind it now, and never ever tell Steward Zhuo about it. You don't want us to suffer, do you? Violent Demon spoke in the most cringy and heartfelt tone, and his brothers echoed him. This scene left the rest dumbstruck. The hell is wrong with these weirdos? They were just tearing me off a second ago, and now they are so respectful? Elder Yuan was taken aback as well. He had thrown Zhuo Fan's name in for scare tactics, but it had worked a bit too well. The instant the four heard his name, they became meek as lambs. Just what strength must he have to get these four shits to fall in line? Elder Yuan's eyes glinted. Oh wait, with Steward was temper, he doesn't make friends easily. When we met, he skipped the small talk and went tough on us right off the bat. Either obey or die. What friends? Sly Demon asked. His brothers frowned and asked, "Are you really Steward was friends?" Kuei-Lang and Yuling bobbed their heads. Though clueless as to who this Steward Zhuo was, not admitting would be relinquishing their lives. These freaks were outrageous in strength and character, more like lunatics. Violent Demon frowned and pondered. Being around Zhuo Fan for so long, this bonehead had learned to use his noodle somewhat. Old Yuan, you had someone tell us that Steward Zhuo is in trouble, so we came and only saw these two radiant stage disciples. So we took them as being ignorant for offending his grace. But since they're Steward Zhuo's pals, then who are the culprits after Steward Zhuo? The Violent Demon questioned Elder Yuan. Elder Yuan gasped, "Crap, when did these shits learn to think? They've become new men ever since they've returned. But this only makes Zhuo Fan, the one to change them, even more invaluable." Elder Yuan praised him on the inside while smiling. "Executives, the ones after Steward Zhuo just flew away. These two were chasing after them, but you stopped them. Didn't you see?" The four recalled the earlier scene and did see two people flying away. But since they were too far, they stopped the two giving chase. "We stopped the friendlies." The four blushed, scratching their heads with a silly smile. "Sorry, didn't know we're on the same side looking out for Steward Zhuo. Please don't tell him." Violent Demon pleaded while Sly Demon said in doubt, "But who are those two to come find trouble for Steward Zhuo? We must take them out at once." The other three nodded. Yuling's eyes brightened, and Kuei-Lang caught on her idea. These four were deranged and unknown, but they were tough and gullible. Why not use them to get rid of Humayer and Lu Su? Elder Yuan jumped in before it got out of hand. Seeing their intentions, "Executives, they are inner disciples, but you can't touch them because of the sect rules. And if Steward Zhuo wanted their lives, how could they have escaped? It's better to not interfere and mess with Steward Zhuo's plans." The four lit up and nodded. Old Yuan, Kuei Lang glared at him. Then sighed. Elder Yuan had just saved their lives and now ruined their chances at revenge. Yu Ling looked at him, puzzled. Elder Yuan said simply, Executive Sir's methods are cruel, but those are born out of circumstances. While they are but simple and honest men, having just been pardoned, they've returned to the sect, loyal and brave, but also strong. They won't involve themselves in the sect's politics and die because of it. But now that I've said that, your revenge won't work, so you better look after those juniors instead. Old Yuan, that much I understand. Ganger Kuei Lang made big eyes when he wanted to fight Hu Mayer to the death. He forgot all about his son on his deathbed. He had to use this life to care for his son. Kuei Lang rushed back to the room. Yu Ling gave a look of gratitude to Elder Yuan and followed him. The four scheming demons followed as well, intrigued, while Elder Yuan just watched them with a chuckle. Returning to the ruined cabin, Kuei Lang saw his son on his last breath and unconscious. His heart was in pain and tears fell. Where cursed her sister's waned face. Her eyes closed in pain. Oh, they look positively dying. Sly Demon quipped. Then Wimp Demon followed with, Didn't they take their pills? Should we give them? Thank you, executives, but their meridians are crushed and not even a 7th grade pill can. Kuei Lang choked with emotions. Yu Ling wiped her tears in silence, but the four scheming demons were indifferent. Violent Demon had an odd look. What's the use of crying? It's only some broken meridians, nothing Steward Zhuo can't heal. Aren't you friends? Steward Zhuo is very generous with his pals. Steward Zhuo? The two stopped their sobbing, and hope lit up in their eyes. No matter who this Steward Zhuo was, he was their last hope. His answer will depend solely on your attitude. Elder Yuan waved. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were gratified, forgetting the fact that they were bosses of the labor office, and so the two of them and Elder Yuan went back to the cemetery again, while the four scheming demons ended up babysitting the bedridden children. At the ingenious words of Elder Yuan, why? Because he dangled Zhuo Fan over their heads. An hour later, the trio entered the creepy cemetery and saw Zhuo Fan on a rock covered in black energy. Zhuo Fan drew it back with a sneer. Not even a day has passed and you're already back. What? You're already healed and are itching for a fight. But this time it will have a different ending. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling reddened, falling to their knees and slamming their heads on the pavement. Forgive our excessive ignorance all this time. We beg Steward Zhuo to let go of the past and save the children's lives. No. Zhuo Fan's curt reply came, and he swished his head away. The two were bitter, casting their desperate eyes on their last hope. Elder Yuan caught onto their obvious begging and said, Sir Zhuo, the children's lives are at risk, their future about to cut short. Why wouldn't you save them? Not my problem. Zhuo Fan's stance was like a rock. Elder Yuan showed a wide smile. Will Sir do it for me? Elder Yuan is a friend expanding on the world's nature. But no matter what, that is a mere debate, not a favor. I will still have to refuse. Zhuo Fan's eyes held no pity. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling panicked. Elder Yuan muttered, Then, Sir Zhuo, would you save me if it was me on the deathbed instead? Without Elder Yuan, I would have no one to talk to about Dao. Zhuo Fan blurted. Elder Yuan nodded. Then may I exchange my life for one of the children? Exchange? Zhuo Fan turned around. Elder Yuan, how is it equal? It's not. Elder Yuan took on the look of a sage. Heaven treats everyone with equal cruelty. For the strong, life is but a statistic. As long as this number is stable, life thrives. I will die for their life, or they will live for my death. No one will care when it's the same result. Demons are the source of all evil. They represent destruction of everything we know. But from the ashes, new life emerges. Demons have their own path. All the death they spread brings life. It is all in accordance to the natural way. Now, I give my old bones for the young one's future. Zhuo Fan stared hard and muttered, The demonic path represents destruction and bears life. This cruel world that the demons are ruining, they are in fact nurturing life, carrying all the sins and turning demonic. Zhuo Fan smiled. Death for life and destruction for the world's sake. Elder Yuan, you have helped me, so I shall help. You don't have to give your own life. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were overjoyed. Elder Yuan laughed. Sir Zhuo, will you help one or both? After saving one, I reckon Elder Yuan will want to give his life for the other, so I'll just save them both. Zhuo Fan grinned. The two were exuberant, their smiles growing all the way to the ears. Elder Yuan laughed and nodded. He's so smart, able to understand it on the spot. Meanwhile, Lu Su stood on a precipice, watching white-bearded elders fly by with a sour mood. Who Mayor came over. Annoyed. Curses, the elders are finally on patrol, and all we needed was for those two to waltz in and we would have finished them. Attacking an inner disciple is a death sentence. But those rotten lunatics butted in. What a waste. Their punishment is about to end, and if we are too late, they will make a comeback. It will be a threat to us and to securing the elite spots. Lu Su squinted. Who Mayor nodded, her eyes glinting with cruelty. Second senior brother, we haven't even looked into Zhuo Fan's background. I wonder which elder or Venerable's ward is he. Maybe test the waters by framing him. Lu Su cut her off with a devious grin. Chapter 540, Making a Move. Chapter 540, Making a Move. This way, Steward Zhuo. Kuei Lang acted as the guide, devoid of his bossy air, and more like a fawning servant who was the target. Zhuo Fan and Elder Yuan the laborers were all bug-eyed, hardly believing their own eyes. Since when did Kuei Lang fall in line? And look at Yu Ling, so reserved. Did wastrel Zhuo Fan's bodyguards smack some sense and fear into them? The rumor mill was running non-stop, but Kuei Lang and Yu Ling never gave a damn. Their humble smiles not even twitching. With Zhuo Fan being their last hope, they had to measure their words before opening their mouths. As for things like honor and dignity, how was that any better than saving the lives of their kin? Besides, Zhuo Fan's strong arm had them completely defeated. They were even content to be under such an almighty boss. Their procession arrived at the cabin, and Zhuo Fan noticed the glaring hole in the wall with a raised eyebrow. I've been gone for just a few days, yet the place is already falling apart. Quite nice of you, Kuei Lang and Yu Ling, having your bedridden sister and son taken to this dump while leaving the intact homes for the others. Ha ha, Steward Zhuo, this is just ha 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 causing trouble. Kuei Lang shook his head at the reminder. Zhuo Fan frowned and thought the gang went in and were welcomed by ceaseless cawing grating their ears. Zhuo Fan could hear those four shits' voices from a mile away. Bro, I bet he wakes up in a month and the gallon half more than that. Sly Demon declared. Wimp Demon shook his head. No, it's the other way around. Look at their wounds. There's no way they'll wake anytime soon. Let's bet on it over a 5th grade pill. Old Third said it would be in a month, and Old Fourth said after a month. Old Second, what do you say? Violent Demon looked at Scrooge Demon, holding the bet. Scrooge Demon grumbled. Can I not join? I don't want to lose. Don't bet and everything you own will be mine. Violent Demon was irate. Scrooge Demon whined some more and then took out a vial. This is my share from the alchemy office this month, a 3rd grade pill. Here, Old Third. 3rd grade? You've got some nerve taking that out. The blind is 5th grade, so cough it up. Don't make me search you, Violent Demon howled. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling's mood hit rock bottom, their faces twitching. These mother-fluffing bastards are betting on the lives of our kin. They'd have attacked by now. A shame they were so weak. I am. Zhuo Fan drew the four's attention. For scheming demons, had enough fun? The four shivered and cried out in unison with cupped hands, Steward Zhuo. With utmost respect and reverence, Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were stunned. These strong and unruly four simply got down on their knees, not caring for their dignity. It only worked to make their respect for Zhuo Fan grow. No wonder Elder Yuan said we're bossy. Zhuo Fan is far better than us. Steward Zhuo, you've come to save him? Violent Demon grinned. Sir, we'll have to work for it based on their sorry states. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were tense. Zhuo Fan smiled. I anticipated this outcome and came knowing I can save them. Zhuo Fan went to Yuan first. He checked her pulse and scanned her with Yuan Qi before saying, Yuan's training in demon-devouring saber was without any issues until 2 months ago. After hurting her arm, she still trained hard, leading to her collapse and meridians being broken. The instant I saw her unhealed hand, I knew someone was messing around. Not only were the healing pills tampered with, but even pushing her to train while wounded all the way to the outer sect promotion, where the savage energy in her lashed out. The instant I saw who Mayor supervising her training and using sisterhood as a guilt trip, I thought of giving you a reminder, but you never listened. Yuling blushed with shame. She was filled with regret for not heeding Zhuo Fan's advice. Then again, Zhuo Fan always spoke stuff they barely understood. Not that she could complain when the guy was there saving her baby sister. Zhuo Fan turned to Kuei Gang. He trains in the blood annihilation, similar to a cultivation method I use, Wraith Art. It has strict requirements when it comes to the user's body strength. In short, one be beginner in 3 to 5 years and proficient in 8 to 10 years of training. Yet when I asked him how many years he had trained, he said it was only half a year. I knew then and there this day would come. And when I touched his arm, it was only to check his situation. His blood vessels are damaged, and he even went beyond his body's limit by using a pill. That's being suicidal. It was Humayer's scheme that lured him to such an outcome, but I did warn you. Sigh. Kuei Lang lowered his head in shame and remorse. He just had to listen to Zhuo Fan, and this would never have happened while Zhuo Fan was showing off, taking the two snobs down a peg. A casual voice came, "Oh, Steward Zhuo, you knew everything, so why didn't you say anything?" Wimp Demon had a straight face as he ignorantly exposed Zhuo Fan's machinations. A friend in need is a friend indeed. All right? How would they worship me as a savior if I told them everything? Zhuo Fan blathered at Wimp Demon. So what if I didn't? Ugh. Everyone sported dark faces and shook their heads. Steward Zhuo is so wild. Not like they knew his mind. Zhuo Fan had thought long and hard whether to save the 2 ages ago Wuyue wanted him to gain a huge merit. So he wanted to have Kuei Lang and Yuling under him, and the best way to go about it was guilt-tripping, thus merely exposing the ploy would be nothing compared to the gratitude of saving someone. But then he realized his life was great in the labor office, even having someone to chat with about Dao, and he simply put the merit business behind him. But it always paid to have another way out, just in case people always make it so they have more than one choice, which brought him to the time he dropped that vague warning to Kuei Lang, and Yuling knowing fully well they'd ignore it, but gave him leverage to use when he'd throw in the real helping hand, telling them, "See that, you morons? The only way to go places is by working under me. With your dumb minds, all you're good for is following orders." But from the moment he saw the cemetery, his cultivation heaven, he wanted nothing else but to sit there, even ignoring his own saving grace plan. Then Elder Yuan came to enlighten him on the nature of the world, and he decided his next step, as Elder Yuan was his best bud, he had to return the favor. While he also wanted to put the demonic path's true meaning to the test, to see if all the destruction birthed life, so he came. For his little scheme and further understanding of the demonic way, there is no life without death. A demon nurturing life, how amusing. Zhuo Fan smiled as he checked the kid's pulse. "Steward Zhuo, what pill will you use?" Violent Demon asked curiously, and with admiration Kuei Lang and Yuling were tense. Zhuo Fan merely smiled at their worries. "You'll see after we get them to wake up." With a roar, an azure dragon soared from Zhuo Fan's body. The thrumming vitality made everyone's Yuan Qi surge. Kuei Lang and Yuling's wounded state recovered in an instant. To their shock, what just happened? Only Elder Yuan cried out at its appearance, "Dragon Vein Soul." Returning dragon's roar. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed.